I absolutely love this theme music. Good morning, Clubhouse. We've had some Clubhouse gifts. I'm going to have to call it out. If you're wondering why we've got this funky music playing in the background, it's because this is the theme music to the iTunes Top 10 Investment Podcast, Understanding Crypto. And it comes out every Wednesday, which is why we always coincide our crypto room to a Wednesday morning here in the UK. I tell you what, I listen to the podcast because I've got a massive ego.
Vain.
I'm very vain. I listen to our own. Other than there being a bit of a piece of the audio at the beginning where you go, I hit record there, we'll go live there. And then the music started. I was like, that should have got clipped out.
But because we're trying to do the video when we record it, it's a bit like this morning. You're trying to do the video, the audio, everything all simultaneously. And for those of you who don't know, there's a couple of screens in front of me and all sorts of buttons and a mixing desk and all sorts of stuff. So you're producing it live as you go on. So obviously, I'm not the sharpest of individuals, so I have to talk myself through it. So,
but you do that on the aeroplane, so it must be like...
like a checklist. You press live there, go there, turn that on, that's on. Right, we're good to go. But James didn't edit that out.
No. I've edited it out now, so if you listen to it now, you won't hear that. You will not hear that mistake, but it was in there.
It's lucky that's all we said.
It was lucky that was all we said, to be fair. But actually, today's episode is very, very good. I would say that because I was half involved in it, but I was fully involved in it. I was half present, I guess. But we talk today all about coins and tokens and actually how liquidity works and how value is driven in the Web3 world. So if you're watching Web3, if you're watching crypto, if you're watching that space and you go, well, how the hell does this actually work? How the hell is there actually intrinsic value within these things? Go and take a listen to it. We'll pin the link to this week's episode at the top of the room during the show, no doubt. So go and check it out and have a little listen. Leave a 5-star review. It would be very helpful for us if you did that. And we've got a fantastic guest on the show this morning. Who has also just entered. He's done many things, but he's just entered into the crypto Web3 world as he's just launched his Humble Alpha Veteran Empowerment NFT, the HAV NFT. So we've got Stephen Kuhn who's coming on this morning. He is somewhere in a car coming from central London and making his way from fancy West End, and it's gradually getting worse and worse as he sits in the car, but he'll be all right because he went to Iraq for a few years, so I'm sure Ilford is not the worst place he's been to. If it is the worst place he's been to, then we've got a real problem.
No comment.
But yes, he actually served in the US Army from 1986 to 1993 in Germany. And one tour, he was a sergeant in Iraq during Operation Desert Storm. Upon discharge from the Army, Stephen Kuhn continued to live in Europe, where he later became a best-selling author, a multi-country business turnaround leader, political consultant, and he completed his MBA at the prestigious Bradford University School of Business Management in Leeds, UK. And he co-authored a book, Unleash Your Humble Alpha, recently as well. So yeah, he is coming on at about 7-ish.
Do you know what? Do you know, Stephen, at first, when I used to reach out to everyone, he was the first person that was like, yeah, of course, brother. Give me a call. And I was like, I remember he was the first person that I'd like.
He was everywhere, wasn't he?
He actually, he responded and he was just like, yeah, no worries. I was, as me, straight on the phone. And then, he was like one of the gateways.
Yeah. Was he involved with Breakfast with Champions early on?
Yeah. He was.
Is he still involved in that gang?
I think he's still a regular contributor.
Yeah, he's a regular contributor, yeah.
We'll find out. We'll ask him.
We'll find out.
Word of warning, it is a crypto-based room or topic.
God.
So the scammers come out in full force. So just don't give any of your passcode details or wallet details or click on any one link. Don't believe the people that put in the chat because they're probably already in there. And if they're not, they're about to start. That you can earn £15,000 a night by clicking on this link because it's probably unlikely that you will. You'll probably lose £15,000 overnight. So don't believe any of the scammers. They do come out in full force when any of these topics come up in the room. I'm actually sure they're not even individual people, are they? They're probably just bots. I don't know. But it does happen. So be careful and keep your wits about you.
Yeah, so already a lot of dangerous people in that chat. Carol Massey, Freya, Michelle, Mimi,
scammers.
Lauren Lepley. want to talk about questionable characters? Lauren Lepley, Jagdeep, Elliot Brown. I mean, I'll say no more. But yeah, do be careful in there, guys. There's also, we can't do anything about it, but apologies. There's just like random people who just go in there and just like, hey, there's lots of beautiful ladies in here. I'm like, where do you think this is going? Like, in that world, like I haven't been in the dating game for like 17 years, but I'm pretty sure that you don't just put a blanket message and go, hey, you look beautiful, and then all of a sudden you're having Schwerpsy.
He's watched Kevin and Perry go large. Hey, lovely ladies.
I've got a couple of people in my chat that that give me running commentary. So of the whole entire room. So like when I'll have to show you. It's good to listen. It's good to look at. So
What, people DM you?
yeah, so it's back channel. It's back channel.
What, their thoughts of the room?
Yeah, so like when somebody's having an irate rant, that person needs to calm down. You know, it's like little comments like that, or that person's been smoking too much, or there's like little. It makes me chuckle. Does make me
I haven't
chuckle.
even checked it. Oh god, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. Because when you go to your back channel, you've got the chats and the requests. Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay. I can see a lot of these.
But because it's busy, I never check that until after the room, because obviously we've got too much going on to be sitting and reading messages, and we wouldn't be able to speak at the same. Well, I definitely can't read messages and speak at the same time.
Oh my god. Okay. All right.
Have you got the same?
Lauren, yeah, I've got loads of them.
Yeah,
Okay. not so much the running commentary. Just a lot of offers to have one-to-one conversations with.
I've got some random ones like Lauren Lepley. Yeah, she just goes crazy in my back channel.
Nichelle talking about the rants in the chat. It's probably Nichelle who gets on a rant that's normally the subject of the back channeling, isn't it? It's like, here she goes. Right, awesome stuff. Well, looking forward, to the title of the room. And again, please make sure, guys, none of this is considered financial advice. We say this on the podcast all the time. If anything you hear about today, sounds like a good idea to you, please go and do your own due diligence and check your own fiscal responsibilities. And in the Web3 world, I think it's probably always a good idea to never invest more than you can afford to lose, just in case you lose it. And if you haven't listened to our episode from last week on Understanding Crypto, we actually broke down how Paul was scammed and then scammed himself to the tune of about 500 quid.
No, but I think it was the fact that he had told us before the show you got scammed, and then you was trying to we got scammed. Yeah.
There's no way.
No, the money's protected. It's just protected from Paul as well.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
So we got scammed, and then I set up a replacement wallet.
But didn't you do it while the show was on? Wasn't you doing something and then you still said
No, so I
did it the night before. It was about 2:00 in the morning. That's where the issue came in.
We got scammed. I set up a new wallet. I then cleared my computer just in case that had been compromised in some way, shape or form. But the new wallet that I created, I didn't do the number one thing and
save the password and
put the password somewhere that was safe. And of course, in the process of cleaning off my computer, now can't get back into that wallet. So the money's safe, but it's safe from everybody.
Surely at some stage there'll be like a lost crypto charitable fund or something that will be able to like get hold of these old things, and they can have your 10 grand's worth of Bitcoin, your 500 quid's worth of Ethereum.
Yeah,
imagine how much is just like floating about in the ether somewhere in code. It must be billions, mustn't it?
I think it was about 6-7 years ago. Someone just sent me some Bitcoin, but just sent it just because no one knew what it was at the time, and I didn't even take it. I didn't even really.
Is this your pal Steve?
Yeah,
he always tries to sort you out, doesn't he? He tries to put you on the right path, doesn't he?
Well, no, he just sort of just says, I ring him up. I'm like, Steve, I need some money. Okay, yeah, no worries. How much you need? But no, he sent it to me. But he was like, I don't know if this is going to be a good thing or not. I've just stuck like 50 grand in it, just see what happens. And I'm like, oh, okay. He was like, but open
speculative 50.
He went, set up a thing, and I'm just going to send you some, just so you got some as well. He's like, apparently it's going to be the next best thing. But yeah, I think he made some serious money out of it.
I'm not surprised if he lumped in 50k 5 years ago.
It was about £3,000, £4,000 of Bitcoin at the time.
And what's it got to now? 40? Did it tip over 40?
He's way up to 60-ish at some point, didn't it?
I think he got out at a lot less than that. But it was like...
It got near 10 and everyone got itchy feet and went, double figures, I'll have that. Cheers, mate.
And then Feb 2021, it was $65,000.
Was it really? Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was in and out. I think 5, 7, whatever. Within about 2 years, he was out. Yeah. Because it was like, wow. then,
My pal paid 1 Bitcoin for a pizza just because you could, because he was like early. He's in the tech world over in San Fran, and he just thought it was a cool thing to do. He had this Bitcoin, didn't know what to do with it, and he went to this pizza restaurant. They're like, well, "We're accepting Bitcoin."
Why
He was
would
like,
they accept it? This is what.
because I get in Silicon Valley, that's where all of the tech world exists. They just have like mad shit that just goes on.
A currency, like, this is the thing with money, isn't it? The money that we accept every day is made up lies. It is.
It's
I won't get the shell start. I won't get the shell started.
Here she goes. Can you check the back channel?
It's a piece of paper. Well, officially, it's a piece of paper that's got a promise on it that has,
no, you, isn't it?
that has a value of £1 has a value of £1. So it's perceived value. So if you recognise that Bitcoin has value early back then, and it was a form of currency, why would you not accept it? Do you know what?
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's like they're just giving away a bit of flour and water and a bit of cheese and tomato just for some Bitcoins. But that's all it is. If you look at it from their point of view, it's like it could be a massive thing. It's only another pizza off the shelf.
Yeah.
And I see a video of
It's a
someone...
$20 punt,
But that's like
worth
saying
40
that
grand.
you spent £1 on a pint of milk. You know, what's a pound going to be worth in 10 years' time?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, yeah. And well, I see another video saying
Don't
about
ask for shell. Less than it's worth now.
saying that someone had like thousands of Bitcoins and went on like a chat room and was just like I'll trade this for some money because he needed some money at the time. And I think he took it was like £50 in equivalent to it, which is like which was like today's value was like millions and millions and millions. And he was like, yeah, I'm not bothered. But the way he was saying I'm not bothered, you could just say you shouldn't be saying that.
You're wounded. You're genuinely wounded. If you're not wounded, you should be.
Yeah.
So we talk about Web3 today, and we are talking about is it the future or is it just hype? Which sort of leads on nicely from that segue of conversation. Not that it was pre-planned, frankly, because nothing with what we do is. But I guess to that point, the value is all on the perception or the mutual agreement of a perceived value, isn't it? So why it's like with I heard Gary Henderson last week when he was on. So his coin is now worth more. His is worth more per unit than Rally, which is the platform it sits on, isn't it?
Correct.
But then isn't that the sort of goal that Rally sets out to be? Like if that sort of shines what Rally offers. It's like when don't they say like if you're a coach and your students pass you, that's a good thing.
Well, their liquidity must be based on the liquidity of people contributing to other people's coins, isn't it? Frankly, so there must be a lot that are not great coins and some that are doing great, and that's balancing the books for them.
Yeah, they've got a shed load of investment as well from big partners.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's a seriously backed player. The A16Z, is it A16Z? It is, isn't it?
The Clubhouse investors.
Yeah, they're investors in it. Coinbase, I think, are investors. There's some serious big players.
We can see what investment money brings you, can't you? Because we've had gifts sent
On behind Ashley's head on the YouTube video. Yeah, on the YouTube. We're live on YouTube. Actually, is the link pinned to the top? It is. You can click on that and go and see the link. And there's some nice Clubhouse gifts in the background of
nice.
Ashley's head, which is all they're probably good for.
We'll get onto NFTs really. Let's just cover this off because we're talking about investment and the perception of value, which kind of leads on to this. So if you go onto YouTube now, and I'll put a post on the YouTube on the Instagram channel as well, and I'll put a nice caption on there because I'm hoping that then Clubhouse will retweet it and share it out. But Clubhouse basically had a conversation with Paul about November time, and they were like, "Oh, we love what you guys are doing, and thank you for contributing."
It was at EMC, so it was September.
Oh my god!
I'd done the call whilst we was at EMC.
That's right. So they said, thanks for what you're doing for the community. It's it's being duly noted, and we really respect what you guys are doing, and we can see. I think was that the conversation where they said it was Europe's #1 community of entrepreneurs. Was that chat?
Yes.
So thanks for what you're doing and putting so much time and effort into the platform. We'd like to send you a gift. We'd like to send you a sort of a just a little token of our appreciation for all the time, effort, and energy to the platform. Look, that was nice. So that's September. October comes around, nothing. November comes around, nothing. December comes around, nothing. I'll skip past some of the months.
The gift was December. It was around Christmas time.
So there's a Christmas gift. That makes more sense anyway.
Yeah.
So I sent a gift. I don't know what postage. It must have been like 1 cent postage or something from the States, but it's taken until April for this gift to get here.
Yeah.
And it's now landed, and it's in a very nice branded box. They've sent us a woolly hat and a pair of socks. Each. A woolly hat. Just to reiterate here, guys, we are people who are putting in 2.5 hours a day, which if you sort of round it up, 2.5 hours a day, it's about 12 hours a week. Plus, it probably takes us twice as much time to organise it. So let's say collectively we're putting in 36 hours a week. Let's round it up because we have a lot of bullshit conversations back and forth, don't we, on WhatsApp. Let's round up to 40. So we've been 40 hours a week, and we've been doing this for the best part of 50 weeks. What's that? About 2,000 hours. As a consultant, I charge £187 an hour. And I know that Paul charges a lot more than that. But that's quite a considerable amount of money. In fact, I'm going to work out now. So if let's say, for example, 2,000 hours. In fact, for 50 weeks, because we've had a few weeks off. I've had more than most. 187 pounds. So collectively, if I charge my time out as a consultancy fee, that'd be £374,000. Clubhouse has sent me a woolly hat and a pair of socks.
But it's got the Clubhouse logo on it, so they're unique.
So that's good. I'm going to turn that shit into an NFT. And I'm going to flog it to someone. But yeah, so if you're, so that's good. So that's a good use of time.
They originally said they were sending a hoodie, which would have been more relevant. Not that I would have even, but
it's just the worst example of brand. I'm calling it out here. It is the epitome of, if you look at their YouTube, if you look at their Instagram feed, it's obviously the same marketing team that do their Instagram as have come up with this box idea.
See, I would have got a nicely branded set of headphones or
exactly
like headset or something like that.
Not being funny, if you go to Alibaba, I'm sure for like $10 you can find some ropey like Wi-Fi headphones that at least you get a branded yellow and had the little something that's relevant and would have cost you less to package than that.
Yep.
What
Anyways, we get to our question. What do you think?
What do I think?
Is Web3 the future, or is it just...
Nah, I think it's hype. I'm out. Count me out. What do you think about it?
I think certain parts of it are hype. And if you look at the pillars of, like, we break them down, don't we, in the podcast, but if you look at all
the
of
iTunes Top Ratings podcast.
Well, yeah, if you look at all of the individual elements of what makes up crypto Web3 and all of that stuff, there's certain parts of it that I think are the future, and there's certain parts of it that are being misused in terms of a use case and are just hype and like pumped up value. I saw a good, is it a meme that you say? I saw somebody which was really funny. I had a bicycle pump connected to a computer screen, and then the chart, like a cryptocurrency chart on the screen, and I was pumping the bicycle pump. Really funny. But there's a lot of it that I think is hype, but there are certain elements of it, like for instance what an NFT actually does, the technology behind an NFT, that, when you distill that all down, it's automated settlement. So it's the ability to automate the settlement of something based on an outcome or based on the what if conditions that are set in that programming language. So if you break that down for what that is and the power that that's got in certain use cases, that is the future. Certain pieces of art, not so much me. Digital shopping malls and clubs that we're all going to go and sit in, and virtual real estate and all of that stuff. I don't think that is that to me, a lot of that is hype. But certain pillars of it, decentralized finance, certain pillars of it, yes, I think are the future.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think some of it is fluff and some of it is pure power. And we've just got to get to the powerful bit before the marketeers ruin it for everyone's perception.
The problem is there's going to be an incredible amount of money lost by people along the way.
Yes.
People that are buying plots of land, people that are investing in certain coins that have no value behind them, or have no sort of roadmap or substance, and NFTs that are just art that are unlikely to go up in value, that type of stuff. There's going to be a lot of money taken away.
There's also like a huge amount of misunderstanding, isn't there, realistically? And when we broke down in this week's episode, not a subliminal plug again, but when we were actually breaking down how the value or the perceived value or sort of the liquidity side of it works, it's actually really simple. I guess you have to be willing to do enough digging to understand it so that you can play the game. Because a lot of people are going into a knife fight with boxing gloves on, aren't they? Frankly,
correct.
They're under educated. They don't know what's going on. Jesus Christ, the most handsome man to have ever walked into our studios just appeared, guys.
He said it's the most dodgiest alley that he's ever.
This is a guy who's been to a rack and he's now said, he said Ilford's worse than a rack.
You're supposed to bring the guests in the front way, Ashley, not the back way. The front door.
Oh, Jesus. Yes, I think, to your point, there's going to be a lot of people who lose out quite quickly. And I think the aim of the game is to make sure that people stay in, educate themselves to a decent enough level so that they can be safe out there. What say you, gang? Let's get a few opinions from the crowd, from the audience, from the people who are on stage. Give us a flash of the mic. Web3, is it the future or is it just hype? I'm sure that Ame's got an opinion. No doubt Nichelle has. I expect Beju probably does. Lauren. What did I say Lauren with then? Lauren. Give us a flash of the mic if you'd like to contribute this morning. And you can share your thoughts. And also, if you're in the audience, gang, if you are in the NFT world, if you're in the crypto space, I see we've got a monkey in the audience. Is that a real one? Is that a real one, or is that just a JPEG? Who knows? Emmanuel's got one of them monkey faces on. There's a lot of those coming up now, isn't there? There's a lot of like the Bored Ape Yacht Club like knockoffs, like the art. It's like the empathetic monkey. It's like, oh, okay, I can see what we're doing here. So if you are in the audience, if you'd like to share, please feel free. Stick your hand in the air, wave it around like you just don't care, and you can come up on stage. Carol, were you giving it a little flash there? Go on, Carol. What say you, my friend?
I just want to say happy Wednesday. You guys are just so uplifting, everyone in this room. I've been back channeling Nichelle. She's eager to speak on this. So that's all I wanted to say. Good morning, guys. Good morning, winners.
Set up. Well, I've not messaged you at all.
We can be fairly certain that you were thinking it, weren't you? You were thinking it out loud, no doubt. I like Bob's comment in the chat. Bob, Web3, like the mobile phone, will never catch on. It's pure hype. ... Yeah, I think as we were saying, there's certain bits of it that are really going to be powerful and certain bits of it that are pure hype. Give us a flash of the mics if you're on stage, guys, if you'd like to contribute. Web3, is it all just smoke and mirrors? Is it all bluster and bravado, or is there some intrinsic value to it? Beju, what say you, my man?
Morning, James. Morning, guys.
Are you not in a gym or out walking? What's going on? You've got comfortable, haven't you? You've lucked out with Sharon and now you're comfortable.
No. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, gym. Wednesday, walk.
Right.
Going for a walk now down the seafront.
7 o'clock walk. Okay, fair enough. Sun was up at 5:30, but okay, I see what's happening here. Comfortable.
Comfortable. Okay. Comfortable. Look at yourself, mate.
Oh, here we go. I will meet you at South. No, I won't actually. I was going to say we'll have a t-shirt ripping contest and we'll see who wins. But let's not do that. Have you made moves into the Web3 world? How far in it are you?
Yeah, only as much as I've bought. I've got some crypto. I've bought a couple of NFTs, and in that respect. Now, when you think about is it hype or is it otherwise, they're blanket statements. It's like when, there is something in it. And if you think about where, Web 1 was like, the internet, you can search for information, and Web 2 was about these platforms sort of monopolizing our experiences, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. And then Web 3 is this opportunity where we become the entity as well, where we decentralize. The thing around that is, though, it requires us to take complete total responsibility for that space. We don't need banks and stuff. We can create our own economy. We can create our own platforms. And all of a sudden is like, say something goes wrong, there's no one to ring. There's no call center. There's no recourse if something goes wrong. So you have to take total responsibility. And what I said last week is that although you can, it doesn't mean you will, because there's a lot of, the psychology of, hang on, it's just me, myself, and I. Absolutely, you can create your economy. You can do these things. You can make your own decisions. So Web3 is this opportunity where we are now taking back control through tokenization, through creating our own NFTs, through creating our own little spaces versus in the metaverse. But then now it's you. Like Gary's last week talked about his coin, but he created his own economy, his token. There was no thing he plugged in. Yeah, he plugged into techrally.com, etc. But it was up to him. And like he said, is you can have all these coins, you can have all this tech, but in the end of the day, if you don't grow a community, if you don't grow the rapport building skills, if the human, none of this matters in terms of increasing value or increasing people's values. And like Gary said, is that when one person wins, if the coin increases, everybody wins. So all of a sudden, there's this tipping point whereby you grow community, you grow collaborations. Everybody's in it. You're in it for yourself. You're sort of in it for others. You're in it for yourself. You sort of. Then there's a tipping point whereby being in it for myself means others win as well. And when you get to that tipping point, it's great. And I can't say that every single person who wants to grow a community in the world is going to get to that tipping point. So then you join. So I'm part of Winners. I'm part of Gary's. I'm part of this. And then do you become sort of the leader of certain groups? So though there's this opportunity for everybody to create their own communities, if everybody create their own communities, we'll be a community of one. So we want to be, and also as humans, we want to be part of gangs. We want to be part of communities that makes us feel good. And what the metaverse, the Web3, is just a series of technologies that allows us to join the dots. So then it's like you three have taken this on. So who are brave enough to take on the first adopters to create communities and then use the tokens, the NFTs, the tech to join the dots together so we all start part of the of not dismissing the human element of belonging and being together. And then when you belong, do we all win by increasing our financial liquidity, our emotional awareness, and our social capabilities? So yeah, that's just my thoughts. Now I'm going to walk.
The concept of what Beiju's talking about there, social tokens. Well, what Gary's coin was, what we're planning on doing, social tokens, creator coins, call them whatever you want, is a completely different way of how we've all been raised to do business. When you think about how we've all, what I'm talking to you, James, who are down looking at your phone. It's like when you talk to your kids at the dinner table and they're all they're doing is staring at their phones. So take their phones away.
Sorry, I apologise.
But when you
found it very interesting what you were saying to me.
When did you hear what I said?
Yeah,
no. It's a completely social
different
tokens,
world.
creator coins is a completely different way. You almost have to retrain your brain to do business in a different way because we've all been raised to build a business, keep the value for the founders, keep the value intrinsic inside.
Reinvest in the business.
And to be honest, it was almost our mindset when we first started doing this. It was no, we're putting the work in, so it's ours.
Yeah.
That's it, period.
Yeah.
Like,
this is the closest to the cooperative John Lewis model.
Yeah, 100%.
Where you're given a little ownership, but you don't have control. You don't have a say, but you have a little piece, and you feel you belong. Yes, you get some financial reward, but you belong. But here there is the needle shifted towards actually the potential financial reward, if you work it right, is life changing, not just nominal. But with that comes the responsibility, personal responsibility. You showing up every single day in whatever context, and that others, you're aligned with other people's values. Because like all these things, if you're only as strong as your weakest link. If one person's rogue in terms of I'm in there, grow community, but I'm not really. As long as I get my bit, I don't care about anybody else. It's going to fall by the wayside.
Yeah. No, it is. It takes a lot. Well, that's why we've been doing the podcast and why we're doing what we're doing, because you have to wrap your head around all the complexities of it, because then you start thinking, right, okay, the concept of, and it's brilliant, the idea of everybody wins together. So you launch a social token or creator coin and people can buy as much of that as they want, and they feel invested in the community, as people do anyway. Yeah. And then we all win together. The community grows. It's like a compounding effect, isn't it? As the community grows, more and more people buy the creator coins or the social tokens, and the whole community raises up in value.
Yeah.
Then you've got the issue of governance. So now you're looking at, you've got to pen out and think about all sorts of governance situations and voting rights. And so there's so many, whilst it makes business or the community building aspect simple because it unites everybody, like the concept of a creator coin unites everybody with one common value, and that is, as we build the community, the token grows, the value of the community grows, and everybody benefits. And at any point people can cash out, and for their time and investment in that community they can cash out their coins effectively, and if it's gone up in value, then they've got an asset that they're part of, as opposed to just showing up every day and not being part of it. But the other structures and mechanisms that need to be put in place behind the scenes is hugely complicated to make all of that work. So whilst it's made business simple, it's also massively overcomplicated what needs to be done to make that work effectively. Otherwise, if you don't think about all the scenarios, you run up into a situation where somebody buys X amount of coins, and then the voting is the governance is completely messed up because somebody can sway the voting in a certain way, shape or form. And then you talk about how as founders we would have X amount of coins and how that has to be vested for the future so that we can't do what we call a rug pull and sell so much of that over a certain period of time or pull it out straight away, and how there's so much going on behind the scenes that people don't see, which is a lot to wrap your head around. I guess that's my venting and my counselling session to you, saying I really need help, James.
James, one final point I would say is that the question, instead of saying, is this the future, is it hype or not, a different question will need to be asked is, okay, it's here, is how are now you're going to incorporate this in the business or career you're at? You know, are you going to be, what gangs, what communities do you feel you want to be part of that you can add value and increase your financial liquidity, or what communities do you want to start to develop through either business interest or community groups or whatever? Because you think about all these charities, right, and all these people who bring people together, the metaverse concept and intricacies is going to help them as well. But it's up to us to think creatively to understand how that works. So anyway.
Awesome stuff. Good. Well, you can hear it. It sounds very nice wherever you are in the world right now. Right, let's have a little jingle. Fancy jingle reset, and we'll be back after this because we've got a guest in the studio.
You are listening to Breakfast with Winners. Exclusive content direct from the Winners Club. If you are enjoying the conversation, click on the green Monopoly house at the top of the screen right now and join the thousands of winners already in our community. For even more actionable content and powerful lessons, download the free companion app now. Just search for the Winners Club in the App Store or Google Play. For more information about the Winners Club and how to become part of our growing community, head to thewinnersclub.club. Now, back to the show.
Back to the show indeed, and good morning everybody. This is Breakfast with Winners. As the fancy jingle lady said, if you haven't yet done so, go and click onto the little green Monopoly house at the top of the room and become part of our gang, part of our community, part of our little family that we've got here. We have now got... my phone's not working. Hang on, go on to 5G.
I don't know if my phone's playing up, but...
Maybe it's the app. Maybe it's because I slagged off the gift that they sent us. 41,200 members of the gang, of the family, of the Winners Club. Make sure you join it because we are going to be doing more private rooms as we get closer towards launching something in the Web3 space. We might be bringing in some new rooms shortly as well. We might be having some stuff that runs at different time zones. So go and check all of that stuff out by clicking on the green Monopoly house at the top of the room. And you can also click onto the link that's pinned at the top of the page right now, and you can go and find us via our link tree. We're on Facebook and Insta and all that good stuff. I'm going to put the Insta story up in a minute of the Clubhouse gift. I use air quotes there, gift. And so you can see the delights. You can see what 30 million quid worth of investment brings you in terms of marketing, or not, as the case may be. But we have got, so today we always like to run a crypto room each week, and today we just so happens to be that we've got a fantastic guest in who is also linked to the Web3 world, has done something very interesting in the NFT space. So I'm going to have to give you your full blog and blurb readout here, Stephen. So you have to mind, just sit back for 30 seconds as I big you up. Stephen Kuhn is have we got any like empowering music? Could you get some like gladiator music or something?
I've pinned a link of just the YouTube so guys can go to the YouTube.
Okay.
Straight at the top and see James reading this out.
Okay. Can you look how big my forehead is? I've got such an issue in my forehead.
No, I think it's the way the cameras look at us.
It's not, Ash. Thank you, but it's not. Stephen Kuhn is a business advisor, author, speaker who has been handpicked to consult with some of the most here he is. I like it. Most influential people in the world, rock stars, singers, actors, business leaders and politicians, about how to build value and loyalty and develop strategies to increase beneficial relationships and achieving the true quality of life. What the hell have you put on here?
Gladiator soundtrack.
Okay,
no
right.
idea.
Fine.
I had
went with
about
it.
20 seconds to make it work.
I did throw you under the bus, to be fair. You did the best with the time that you had. Stephen Kuhn hails from Pennsylvania, USA, and served as in the US military from 1986 to 1993 in Germany, and one tour as a sergeant in Iraq during Operation Desert Storm. Upon discharge from the army, Kuhn continued to live in Europe, where he later became best-selling author. Oh, now it's getting good. Now there's a bit of bass that's kicked in. Okay, fine. Best-selling author, a multi-country business turnaround leader, political consultant, and completed his MBA at the prestigious Bradford University School of Business Management in Leeds, UK. I sometimes wonder how Ashley Shipman knows these people. When you read out their bio, like, how does he know him? Together with his co-author, he wrote the book Unleash Your Humble Alpha, which shows readers how to own their presence in life and become an epic leader they are meant to be. The book is a basis for all they do, to include the newest venture, the Have NFT, the Humble Alpha Veteran Empowerment NFT, which is the largest profit for purpose project in the metaverse so far. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, he's only gone and arrived, isn't he? Stephen Coons here, everybody. Did you like the Gladiator music? Did it sort of hype you up?
I would love to have heard like clashing swords in the background, but yeah, it was all right.
It was all right. It'll do. So take us right back to the beginning. So you've had a very interesting journey that's sort of gone from military life to advising some of the biggest companies and doing some seriously impressive stuff in the world of business, and now you've gone into Web3. So we're going to cover it all at some point this morning. But how did you, before the army, were you an army kid yourself? No. Was it always going to be an army life for you?
No. I grew up in Pennsylvania. We call it Pennsyltucky.
Right.
It's sort of like the hillbilly part of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And mobile homes and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was not a good kid, and I wasn't a very sporty kid, or I didn't have any self-pride or anything. I just wanted to get in the army to get the hell out of there. It was literally like, let's go.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And I joined the army. I went to Fort Knox, Kentucky for boot camp, and found out who I was, and then went to Germany and spent 7 years there in the military, and then of course a tour in Iraq.
Found out who you were. That's an interesting statement.
Oh, I can tell you stories about that, man.
Who were you before? You say you weren't a good kid. Were you a bad kid, or were you just sort of not? Okay.
I was a doofus.
Right.
I was the guy that I played sports. I tried to play sports, and I would lose every game.
Right.
Don't do this, Coon, and I would do exactly that, and I'd lose the game. It was like that was me, like just constant in trouble, and so yeah. And when I went in the military, there was a couple situations where I had to overcome. And I couldn't. And I was standing there in front of this wall. I had to climb over it at the obstacle course, and I couldn't do it. And I was like, I can't do it. And the drill sergeant threw me down in the mud and like put his boot in the back of my neck and just called me every name in the book. And I clicked, something clicked. I got really pissed off, and I jumped up right over the wall like that. And I was on the other side. I landed. It was like angels came. I was like, oh my God, that was me the whole time. Like I was just holding myself back. And since then, I just crush whatever I do.
Did you, if you'd have sort of known half an hour before that was going to happen, would you have thought you would be a person that would be inspired by that kind of physical attack and that kind of military? Because it's savage. The military is savage, isn't it?
Oh, it used to be. Yeah, it's savage. It's very savage. Yeah, it's they every name in the book, they push and pull and punch and throw. They used to.
Yeah.
And no, I don't think I was motivated. I think I just snapped. I had enough of being pushed around.
And was it that you'd had enough of being pushed around by other people, or did something click inside of you that you are pushing yourself around, you are not fulfilling your potential? Was that moment of elation? You're like, okay.
Yeah, when I landed on the other side, I realized it was all my fault. It was all me. It was all my lack of vision. It was all my lack of belief in myself.
It's interesting that like a clumsy doofus kid who loses every game has the self belief or the balls to just go, I'm going into the military. Because that's not, was that how bad
it was? That bad. Well,
it
was like this. People looked at me in a certain way, and I believed them.
Right.
And I knew that if I didn't leave that area, if I didn't leave that AO, area of operations, they call it, that I was going to stay like that. And I knew I was somebody else, but I couldn't come out because everyone knew me as this doofus.
Right.
So I said, I got to get as far away as possible. And as soon as I sat in that chair at the barbershop at boot camp, they started shaving my head with the razor. I was like, this is the new you. You're not going back to that mother trucker. This is you from now on.
Yeah.
And of course, that's mindset. And I went out, in the military, and I wasn't doing too well because I couldn't keep up and I wasn't so fast and all that kind of stuff. But I refused to give up. I would run at the front of the formation, in the morning and be vomiting on myself. I'm like, I'm not dropping out. And you always have to run as slow as the slowest person. So sometimes we were walking, because I was like, I can't do this. But I wasn't going to go to the back because I knew I'd drop out. If I dropped out, I'd lose.
So you still stay at the front? Even
I'd stay
if
at the front, vomiting. The whole formation's waiting for me, and I'm just, we got this. You know.
And what were the other people who were around you like at that point? And they're like, are they sort of like motivating and pushing you to be the
Yes.
best version of you, or they're like,
Yes.
just like go to the back so we can crack on with this?
No, well, there was a few of those.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, the high performers that always want to win, but the military is all about teamwork. You know,
Right.
it's all about helping the other ones through. It's all those movies you see, the inspirational, where the guy's at the finish line and he's falling over and the people carry him over. The
Yeah.
thing. That's the military.
Okay.
That's the military. That's what we learned. So no, and it's empowering to see people who, you know, could basically wipe the slate with everything as far as sports and strength and everything with you, and they're like, come on, Kuhn, you can do this. You got this. You know.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
And do you eventually, if you're around that enough, do you become the sum total of the parts? If that makes sense.
Most
So those
certainly.
people pick you up and
in a very rapid manner. 5 months, I went from 240 pounds to 187. I went from like a doofus to like a machine in 5 months, and I went home.
I was about to say, what was that first home trip like?
Oh man,
Stephen Coos back, guys. Check out the abs and the six pack and the new mentality.
And I went home, and people pushed me around. I was the biggest kid in school. I got pushed around, you know. And I went back, and people thought I was the same person, and they found out really quick that I wasn't. I had zero fear. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Like I went from fearful Stephen to fearless Stephen. It was incredible in 5 months.
How old are you when you do this?
I was 19.
19, okay.
Yeah.
So how did you end up in it? Was it like you see in the movies, like you're walking down the street one day, kicking the can, not sure what you're going to do with your life, and like an army officer's like,
No.
hey, you should sign up.
No. Since I was 8 years old. Well, we have family that was in, I think, every conflict since the Revolutionary War.
Oh, okay.
So there's a thing called Sons of the American Revolution. It means your forefathers fought in the American Revolution, and we're in that category.
Okay.
And so, Vietnam and World War II, World War I, French and Indian or whatever the heck it was, war, and all those different wars. So for me, it was like we had pictures everywhere, and I'm like, I might as well do it. But since 8 years old, I had been planning to go.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What did your mum and dad do?
My mother's 75, my father's 75. My father was an entrepreneur, had his own companies, always okay, successful, My mother was the secretary for the Attorney General of Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow, okay.
And, it was, if you know anything about Pennsylvania, it's like one of the most crooked states there is.
Oh, really?
Their offices got bombed and, just like really.
Right.
Yeah, Ed Dwyer was the treasurer of Pennsylvania. He shot himself on live TV.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard of that guy.
Yeah. Well, she worked for this whole group of guys. So we were always like, what's going to happen,
Yeah.
And then if you trace our family back on my dad's side, my grandmother's side, or his mother's side, that's the Magueros and the Intreries. And they're the Black Hands that came into Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and did all the numbers games and stuff like that. And they paid off the Attorney General. It was a big book that came out. People got murdered. It was crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was our family. I was like, oh, man.
Now I know how Ashley knows you. Now it all makes more sense. It's like, this is too clean cut.
Damn, sorry, bro. Sorry.
You're walking me into it now.
Damn, sorry, man.
Now it all makes sense. It all makes sense.
That's my connection in Pennsylvania.
He's my guy. He's my contact over there. So you go and join up, and then you go to Fort Knox for your training.
Yeah.
But then you end up in
Germany.
Europe. How quick did that?
5 months later, like I went home
really?
for 10 days vacation or leave, and I went to the airport and flew to Germany. You have a dream sheet in the Army. You have a dream sheet. You can choose 3 locations.
Okay.
I chose Hawaii, Germany, and Italy. And there were no tanks in Italy or Hawaii, so guess where I went, right? So I went to Germany, and I didn't know that at the time. And I ended up in Germany, and I swear to God, I got off the plane, and we were at Rhein-Main Air Force Base, and I looked in the distance, and I saw high-rise buildings in Frankfurt. I'm like, what the hell? What are these buildings? Like, I'm looking for, the old houses, Lederhosen, and all this kind of. Honest to God, I was thinking it was like you see on TV, like European Vacation with Chevy Chase, right? And, I'm serious.
Holiday Road theme music's in your head.
But then I landed in a city called Gelnhausen, and it was exactly like that. I was like, this is what
I'm supposed
Germany.
to be. Okay.
Exactly like that. It was crazy. It's the oldest city in Germany as far as the crossroads go for the trade route. It was the Barbarossa city.
Okay.
For King Barbarossa. It was crazy.
So you're based in Germany. Were you there for the whole of your sort of active service?
Except for Iraq, yes. I was
Okay.
there. I kept extending because during the Cold War, you wanted to be on the border because that was where the action was.
Right.
So we were looking into East Germany. That's how I learned German. I speak, read, and write German because we would listen to what they were saying on the other side, and I wanted to end the Cold War. Right? So I'm like, I'm going to listen to everything, and I'm going to find a way to end the Cold War. You know, it's just, you know, you got to have goals, right?
Yeah.
And I'll never forget because we're right on the border, and then there's towers with the East German border cards. Then there's a fence. Then there's the civilian population on the other side. And every morning there would be a woman who would do nude aerobics on her balcony in the east, right? So the entire tower, everybody is like focusing. And it was a diversion because we would look up and the tower that was there, they would move it. And we'd be like, oh shit, where did it go? You know, because we were just they were good. They were really good at diverting us.
Yeah. That was when people were coming across the border without you knowing.
Whatever.
Isn't that mad that in like recent memory there was borders in Germany itself?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So were you there for the fall of the Berlin Wall then?
Yes, I was. I
Oh,
was.
wow.
Yeah, and it was incredible. Actually, before the wall fell, it was just Hungary that opened
Right.
up, and all the Hungarians came over. And I happen to live in Hungary now. Funny enough, 20 some years later, but without getting to okay, I was a single soldier, right, living in Germany, and you have a stream of Eastern European women coming into Germany. It was sort of like, oh, what's going on? Is this like a blessing going on?
Did I die and go to heaven?
Like, my goodness. So, yeah, it was nice. And then after that, the wall came down. Then it was a flood. It was just chaos. But in the beginning, it was just trickle-wise from Hungary. Beautiful, beautiful women.
What was it? Did you notice a tangible difference in that country when that wall came down? Was there a
In Germany?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Was there a feeling that sort
Yeah.
of changed? Because
Yeah,
did
it
it feel
was-
like there was still? Was it sort of like a conflict mentality because of that divide?
No, I think it was all political. I mean, we had massive empathy for the East Germans. East Germans had, were like, oh my gosh, you guys, can you help us and stuff. But when the wall came down and the economic sort of differences showed up and the disparity showed up, that's when the conflict started building up again.
Right.
Like, you Westerners, you don't care about us, and what about our infrastructure and all this kind of stuff. And then there's also the big deal is when the wall fell, all of the land that Russia and East Germany had, what's the word, enteignet, that they've taken away from the people who own that land and businesses, they were supposed to give it back.
Right.
And
Okay.
that took 20 years. It's still not. The German government has more land that they were supposed to give back than they're supposed to have, of course, and they pay more in the upkeep and the taxes on that land than it's worth, but they won't give it back.
Really?
Yeah, they won't give it back. Land, businesses, I mean, you name it, factories, they just won't give it back.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then you're in Germany. You're sort of
Yeah.
doing the sort of the active military thing. What is it like as a soldier when you get that call up and it's actually you're going to now deploy your training? Because up until that point, I imagine you're sort of almost like a coiled spring. Like this is the ability that you've got, and obviously you're doing other useful activity. But as a military guy, other than the sort of these beautiful women and the naked yoga, sounds like a flipping holiday camp, frankly. But other than that, you are by design ready to go to war.
Yeah.
That's what you're primed and prepped for.
Yeah.
When that actually happens and you're like, right, we're going to put boots on the ground and you're going to go, is that like, is it excitement or is it fear that kicks in when you hear that? Because obviously you can see that the situation is escalating, but when it's like, Kuhn, pack your bag, you're off.
Well,
What's that like?
We were watching CNN, and they said the following troops are going to be moving out to Iraq, and they named our division.
Oh, really?
And we're like, did they just say?
Did they say us?
Holy shit! Like, oh my god!
What we can do with the yoga gun in the morning? Somebody needs to tell us.
Tell the Hungarians. No,
We have requirements. We have requirements. It has to be nice women moving through.
and it was like pucker factor 10, we call it. Like you just, like
Right.
that. And man, it was scary at first, but then you started calling your family around, and they said, okay, guys, we're gonna get ready. We're leaving then and then. Pack the tanks, pack the Hummers, the Humvees. We had to strap them down, put them on railroad cars, and then we had to pack our boxes and write wills and then write messages to, like, for instance, I had a box for my brother, my mother, my sister, and my father. And in that box, I had things that I think that they would want to have. I didn't have much, so they were little boxes, right? Yeah. Like my brother got the Playboys, and and you had to put a letter in that box that said, "Hey, if you're reading this, I'm gone." So talk about living your mortality, man. I mean, I had to sit down and actually concentrate. What would I tell my mother or my father or my brother or my sister if I'm gone? And so when I did that, what happened was a funny thing is that I resigned. I'm like, okay, I'm dying. Like, I'm not coming back. So I was like, all right, good. I'm going full in. I'm going all in, doing this shit, And I resigned and I resigned coming back.
Yeah.
And I went to Iraq ready to die in the desert.
Does that mentality, does that put you in a position of danger because you're then a little bit more gun-ho? Is it like a mental, do you act differently, or are you just, you're willing to make that sacrifice?
You're willing to make the sacrifice. Every veteran is, whether they do it consciously or not, otherwise it wouldn't be there, especially in our military, which is all voluntary. Yeah. So it's a big deal. I always say they write a blank check. Like, write a blank check, and whatever happens, happens. Just charge me, which could be my life. Yeah. Right? But what happened was I believe that if you're fearful, you're going to make mistakes. If you're not, you act. You take proactive action. You take imperfect action, and you go and create whatever it is that's in front of you to make sure that you're a winner. And I've carried that to this day. Matter of fact, it's in the book. We talk about that, co-creation with the world around you, taking imperfect action, focusing on the intention and not the outcome. And
where did you get based in Iraq? Were you sort of like in the...
No, we were in... Dude, it was... we were the very front. So we were the 8th Cavalry, Task Force 8th Cav. Everyone hears about Mick Masters, the general who was working for Trump. I think he was a captain at the time. He was in front of us and he peeled off and we hit the Tawakana Republican Guard. It's the Battle of 73 Easting. It's the biggest tank battle since the Second World War. There's like video games and puzzles and all kinds of stuff made after that. That was us. And we ran out of ammunition and fuel. And then there was a passage of lines, which means another battalion came through us and continued fighting. By the time they got to the battle, we had a ceasefire. So we fought for about 48 hours. And it was pretty brutal. Lost a friend in my arms. It was pretty brutal.
Wow. How do you? Because you're sort of reading your accolades now. There's on my screen here. You've got like 3 sentences and like a couple of lines. Is like, went to Iraq and did this stuff. How do you, when you've had that lived experience, which changes you so, at a cellular level, when you've had, someone die in your arms and you've consciously, like I say, you've volunteered for that to be a potential option, and you've also said, I'm willing to die here. How do you come back from that world to quote unquote reality or civvy street? How is that why there's such a challenge for veterans to make that transition?
That was 30 some years ago, and it's still a process.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest, the thing that veterans lose or military loses when they leave and become veterans is the family, the larger purpose, and a meaning bigger than themselves. Mm. And with those 3 things will carry you through life, But you get out and you're like, I'm a postman, or I'm working at the bar, or I'm a barista, or whatever. And you're like, what's the meaning in that? Yeah. What kind of an impact am I having? Oh, nice coffee with a little heart on top, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, where's my impact? Before I was, protecting the Western world against the aggression of the Russians, and now I'm making coffee. You know what I mean? It's that big. It's a big loss. Yeah. And so I had a hell of a time. I got out. My PTSD was raging at the time. They didn't know what PTSD was.
Yeah, it wasn't that 30 years ago, was it?
No. And I was in Germany. I became a doorman. So a doorman with PTSD wasn't a good mix.
That sounds like a good combination. Yeah.
And I got to be really well known, and people would just come to fight me.
Really?
Yeah, because I would just black out and just
go.
Yeah, just go mad.
So when you came back, is that why you're so passionate about the veteran support that you do now? Because you've been there and been through it, and luckily you're one of the ones who's
what I did
through it.
Yeah, when I got out, I went to Germany, of course, and I pushed everything away. Like, I don't want to deal with this, and I don't want to see the army anymore. I was disenfranchised because when I went to Iraq, I had a little story there that happened that changed my life forever. I was at a checkpoint after the ceasefire, and Basra was burning, because Bush Sr. had said, hey, to the Shiites, if you do an uprising against Saddam, we're going to send our troops in to help. And so they did an uprising, and then we were told to stand down. We couldn't go help. So we had to watch them get massacred. And we were at 200 kilometers into Iraq at a safe zone, and the casualties would come. And there was a little girl that came. She was burnt from her neck down. Absolutely beautiful little girl, about 8 years old. And I took her in. Came out. I wanted to do something for her, so I got down on my knee, and I'm like, oh man, I wanted to like hug her, but and take her to America and save her life, but I couldn't. All I had was butterscotch candy in my grenade pockets. So I gave her butterscotch candy. Here's a girl who lost everything, burned from head to toe, and I gave her the butterscotch candy, and she smiled.
Wow.
And I was like, really smiled. And I was like, holy shit. And here I am complaining because it's hot. I said, I'm never going to complain again. And that changed me. To this day, I think of her all the time. Like, I'm always looking for Iraqi girls around. I guess she'd be around 40 right now. Like, did you come from Basra? And when were you there? Like, I'm always looking for this girl. Anyway, so when I got out, I just couldn't get rid of that. I couldn't get rid of those thoughts, couldn't get rid of the visions. And so I fought my way through life for about 2 years.
Because you said that you sort of kept extending your time. Do you go in for, because I'm completely ignorant to this, you go in for like a 4-year stint?
It depends. The lowest is 2, maximum is 8. I think, or 6, yeah.
So when you come back from Iraq, did you sort of like end your contract early, or was it you chose not to extend it?
Yeah. I ended it early. A year and a half early, yeah.
And you're allowed to do that at that point?
No, you're not allowed, but I always find a way. That's one of my tricks in life is that's why I do what I do, because everybody just says, "Oh, Steve will figure it out."
Right, okay. So
that's how we're friends.
The more this goes on, the more it makes
black
sense.
hands and hair,
dodgy connections. Just won't take no for an answer. Makes sense. Are you guys brothers, actually, on some level? So when you come back and you end up being a doorman, did you have any idea of the direction you wanted to take next, or was it just like, I need to get away from that and then I'll figure it out? Exactly
what happened. And it was a sobering moment. I'm standing on the door, I'm dressed like I'm trying to keep my uniform, straight like you did in the military, because it gives you a sense of pride. And this kid comes up. He's like, "Hey, I want to get in." I'm like, "Sorry, let me see your ID." And he's like 14. I'm like, "Sorry, man, you can't get in. You got to be 18 to get in." He looks at me. He goes, "Get a real job, you loser." I was like, what's going through your head? I just got back from Iraq. I just went through hell, and you're calling me a loser. And it's like it's very psychologically, it's a mind.
Yeah.
Mind blower.
Yeah.
That way.
So you go from working the doors, and you don't know, because at that point in time, PTSD is not labelled as what it is now. You're just like left out of the military, probably with no support because you've left early and you're not supposed to anyway. So you're like bags like dumped to Germany. Good luck. Find your own life. Your way. Why did you stay in Germany out of interest?
Because I hadn't accomplished anything in my mind, and I didn't want to go home with the tail between my legs.
Is that what you felt?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I said, after Iraq, I just wanted to accomplish something. I said, man, if I made it through this shit, then I got to do something. There was a reason for that. I was always very conscious. Even when I was in, I was in high school and stuff, I knew what was going on. I knew that I was a product of my surroundings. I knew that. And that's why I wanted to leave. So I was always very conscious. I'm uber conscious now. And that allows me to see things from different angles, which is what I've then implemented in business over the years and became very successful through that process of 3 questions or 3 answers. And I don't know, I just intrinsically picked that stuff up. So when I got out, I was a doorman, and then I was the best doorman. And then I was a bartender. I was the best bartender. Like, I was mopping floors. I was the best floor mopper. Like, I just did that.
Yeah.
And people would keep seeing me and say, "Hey," I ended up having my own cocktail bars and nightclub and that kind of stuff in Berlin, like 3 years later after I got out. And a guest said to me from South Africa, "Hey, man, he was pretty cool. He's like, "Hey, would you like to help me bring a company from South Africa to Germany?" I'm like, "I'm a bartender." What are you talking about? He said, no, I can see it in you. Let's do it. So we did it. We broke every record there was. It was a listed company, PLC in South Africa, broke every record. And then a company here in the UK called Holmes Place, health clubs, picked me up. They were the largest health club chain before. They had 87 locations in 9 countries, or eight countries. They picked me up, maybe the operations director of European Operations and Development. I had no freaking clue what I was doing, right? And I'm like, what the hell? And they showed me a P&L, and I was like, what's this? I mean, I had no idea what I was looking at. Like, I had nothing. I came out of the Army. I was a grunt, right? And the CEO's name was Mark Minter, right? And I'll never forget, I said, Mark, I appreciate, they paid me $28,000 a month, right? A month. And I was like, what the because they took the pound wages and transferred it over to the D-marks. it didn't take a cost of living into effect. So I could have like buying a villa and driving a Bentley and stuff. It's crazy. Anyway, I didn't, but I could have. And I said to him, I said, Mark, I can't do this. I'm sorry. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And he said, shut up and do it. If I see it in you, then it's in you. Just do it. And that was the lesson of life for me, because, and I do the same thing. If I'm talking to somebody and like, oh, I can't do this, Steve. I'm like, look, I see it in you. It's in there. You just need to extract it. Let me help you. Let me help you extract it. Let me help you unleash that. And that's what we do in our advisory program. It's called the Paradigm Upgrade Advisory Program for Humble Alpha. And he taught me a life lesson, man. If someone says, you got it, then you just fill that space. We always fill the space we're given. It's like a goldfish. You put them in a goldfish bowl, they're like an inch long. Put them in a pond, they get to like a foot. They fill the space they're given. And humans are the same. If you let go of trying to, let's say, construct a specific outcome, if we focus on the intention, create as we go, we can't control the outcome. We can only control our intention. And intention, internal intention, is the will to act, but it won't get you anywhere. You have to have the external intention, which is actually the action. You know, so these are all the things. This is what I think about every day, if you can believe it or not. Like, I think like this every single day. Like, what's going on? Where am I going? Okay, this just happened. Who said? Why is that? And I'll be looking out the airport, out the window, and I'll see a private jet, and it'll be, oh, I'll never be able to afford that. And I'm like, shit, why did that happen? Why did I think that? It's not the problem that I have a limiting mindset. There's a reason why that happened right now, and it's going to open up a door for me to experience something else. And then 3 days later, I saw a private jet, and I saw myself on the private jet after something happened in this 3-day period where I was speaking here at an M&A conference and talked about how you buy companies and acquire companies for no money down, that kind of stuff. And it was like, now I get it. That process of not being able to afford it was me opening a door to limiting beliefs that I didn't know that I had. And then when I went through this process of speaking on stage, some things happened, and I talked about a deal that I'm doing in Switzerland for like with a $3 million spread. We're buying a company for $6.5 million plus $3 million mortgage, and we're flipping it to a real estate investment trust for 12.5 the very next day. So it'll be like a $3 million spread, and then we have the business as well. And something clicked there, and when I saw the private jet sitting at Heathrow, I saw myself on it. And then I can look back and say, that was the lesson that I had. This is why it happened, and this is what the future looks like. Awesome. I've always been like that. It's crazy. It drives me nuts sometimes.
Yeah, sounds like it's very busy in your mind.
Yeah, it is. But I can shut it off like that. Like, I meditate every day, and if I like, for instance, if I need an answer for something, I will get into a meditative state and ask the question. And if I don't get an answer, it means it's too complicated. So I got to dumb it down a little bit.
Ask yourself a simpler question.
Yeah, simpler question. And then I just start writing. I don't even know what I'm writing. And then when I'm done, I read it. And it's a tailored answer to my mindset, to my experience and everything. If someone else reads it, they'll be like, what the hell's that? But for me, it makes perfect sense, and it's clarity. It gives me absolute clarity.
You mentioned that you were like sort of quite self-aware even as a kid. Yeah. So why, when Holmes Place give you that job and Mark Minter has to still give you a pep talk, even though you've grown from the Stephen Kuhn you used to be to the military guy, to the guy who's come out of it, to being the best barman, the best floor mopper, then the South Africa opportunity, why did you still have that limiting belief there when you're aware of it?
Yeah. Well, it's because every time you go to another level, you break through the glass ceiling or whatever it is, you start at the bottom again. So it's a belief factor or pride factor. Like, it just depends. I mean, if there's a structure in place that says this is what you got to do, you fall back in and say, okay, this is what I got to do because everyone does it. And then you catch yourself. You're like, no, I don't need to do what everybody else does. You know. But for instance, when I was Mick Jagger's bodyguard, right? So I heard on the radio in Berlin that he was coming with the Stones to Berlin for 3 weeks. And that at the very end of the radio, it said his bodyguard stayed in Berlin or in London because he hurt his back. So I'm like, opportunity. So I went to the hotel, waited for him. He came out. I'm like, hey, Mick Jagger, how you doing? I'm Steven. I'm your new bodyguard. And he was like, what? Who? What? Who sent you? I said, I sent me. I'm American. I speak German. I had a weapons license. And I'm here to be your new bodyguard because your guy stayed in London. And he was like, talk to CJ. CJ was his security chief or whatever. And CJ's like, well, you got some balls. You know? Who the hell are you? And he goes, I'm going to ask you one question. If you answer it, you got the job. And I said, sure. And he goes, do you know where to get the best German sausage? I was like, yep. He goes, all right, how's $400 a day? And there I was, working for Mick Jagger. I did the same thing with Olivia Newton-John. I did the same thing with Andrea Bocelli. I worked for Andrea Bocelli for 2 years because I had the balls to walk up to him. But what I do is I create space. In our book, we talk about creating space. That's showing up wholly and fully for the person in front of you, no preconceived notions or cookie cutter solutions, no expectation of a specific outcome, and focus on the intentions, which is what you control, and that's adding value by solving problems. And when you do that, you create the space around everybody, and everybody comes up with these collaborative ideas that you never would have come up with on your own. And it just became a gift of mine, and I just started using that to my advantage. But in the business world, I mean, that's easy. You go up there, okay, like a dare almost, like I'm going to land Mick Jagger, you know. The outcome, I don't know what it's look like, but I'm working for Mick Jagger, you know, and you just do it. But to bring that into business where there's structure, expected structure, and you know things that people want you to do in a specific way, it's more difficult. Takes more introspection to figure out how you can fit that kind of an attitude into a structure. Because you know you can't go into the corporate world and be like, I run shit. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing this. I don't care what you say. I'm doing. You know, you can't do that. I mean, I did to a degree, and I got away with it because I always delivered the results. And that's, you know, you do it now and ask for forgiveness later, all that kind of stuff, you know, all those things. But in the end, if you're bringing results, they usually give you leeway, and I had a lot of leeway. Mark gave me massive leeway. This guy was amazing.
What did Holmes Place become?
They sold to Virgin Active. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Did you?
Well, the UK ones did. I don't know if that was
UK ones.
Yeah.
A couple of times when you've been talking about stuff, you've used the word our book, our team. Yeah. Do you, even though if you're the figurehead of pushing something forward, is that military brotherhood mentality of a team, is that always with you? And will you always build out a team when you go into a new project because you want to take people on that journey as well?
I've owned over 20 companies, founded, you know, over 20 companies and owned them. Never had a company on my own. Never not had a partner. That's the way to get better quicker. That's the way to have more impact. And you want more eyes on target. And the more eyes on target you got, the quicker you can react or act. So yeah, it's always like
that military mentality. It never leaves you, does it? Even like the language, like you say, the areas of operation or eyes on the target and all this sort of stuff. Is that just hardwired? Is because of the sort of the reps and sets of how they prepare you to be able to do what you can do? Is that just so hardwired in your?
Like when someone says, "What's your telephone number?" I go 619er 532. You know, like niner. You know, it just happens. You know, you don't even think about it. 5er instead of 5. You know. And the kinetic alphabet, you know, and someone asks you what's going on, Alpha Bravo Charlie, Delta, you know, my last name, Kilo Uniform Hotel November, you know, like that. He
said Roger that this morning.
Yeah, I always say Roger Wilco. You know, Roger Wilco means Roger
will cooperate.
Will comply, or cooperate, and it's just something we always say. But I had separated myself for over 20 years from the military when I was in Germany because I was like, I don't want anything to do with that. And then 4 years ago, I was traveling as a turnaround consultant. After Holmes Place, I opened up a lending company in Poland, like literally from scratch. Had no idea what I was doing. Opened it up. It's now one of the largest lenders in Poland. It's crazy. It's a payday loan company, so it's like microloans, 100 euros and stuff like that. And I did that. I did a bunch of other stuff, and we launched Laybag, which was the product of the year 2016 on Facebook. Did 30 million in 6 months. And just all kinds of crazy shit. Started speaking all over the world, spoke in Cairo, Morocco, America, all this kind of stuff. And I said, man, I want to stop doing that. It's too much travel. I got 2 kids. They were 4 and 5 at the time, or 3 and 4. And I told my wife, I'm going to stay home, right? And she says, what are you going to do? I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm going to do. So I was turning around businesses making, 5+ figures a day doing what I was doing. And you can't do that online. At least I didn't think you could. And so I stayed home, and I started. So I said to myself, "What's a good marketing person do? What's my message? What problem am I solving, and who do I solve it for?" And I said, "Well, I've been doing business for all these years. I'm pretty good at it. Let me go into the veteran space." So I went to the veteran space. It was called the Vetpreneur Tribe on Facebook. Had like 2,000 people, and I asked the owner. I said, "Hey, can I start just doing free videos every day, like 5-minute videos, live videos, and just give free business advice?" And I was doing that every day, and like 3 months I made 100K. I didn't have a logo, a website, a package. I didn't even know what the hell I was doing, like as far as online anything goes. And I made 100K, and I was like, wait a second, this is a business. And then I turned that into a business, not just with veterans, but now we work with like the mayor of New York City special assistant is one of our clients, and we got like entrepreneurs at the 30 to 50 million range, and also classic entrepreneurs like us, that are starting up like that, because one of the most powerful things that we possess is a network that is just ridiculous, like ridiculous. In the military, you have a connection into anywhere because you have that common bond. Even in the UK, Oh, you're in the military. Oh, yeah, boom, bond, like that. Then we can ask questions that we otherwise probably wouldn't be able to ask. And so, yeah, it's I forget where I was going with this, but there's a whole process behind all this in my mind. So, yeah.
So what are you doing now in the NFT space? Because I've saw the Have NFT that you've recently launched. What's the sort of the concept behind that?
Concepts behind that. Well, we were looking to start an investment fund for veteran-owned businesses. We were going to hedge real estate against the M&A investments so that we could secure the investment. And I wanted to do challenge coins, sell challenge coins for equity crowdsourcing over a crowdsourcing campaign. And a challenge coin is a coin that's given to a soldier or an airman or a Marine or whatever for good deeds, a marksmanship, good deed. The general comes by and says, you look good or whatever. This goes back to the Roman times where the Roman generals would give all the soldiers little tokens and stuff. And it's the number one collectible in the U.S. military. And they're metal coins in every shape, size, and form. And I was talking to an advisor, and he said, why don't you just make them into NFTs? So we have the first digital challenge coin NFT. And it's called HAVE, Humble Alpha Veteran Empowerment. And what we do is for every NFT we sell, we give a percentage of that to 25 veteran nonprofits per drop. We drop the Bulldog, which is the Marines, and we have the Air Force, the Navy, and then the Army coming up. And for each drop, we donate to 25. So it'll be 100 nonprofits after the 4 drops. And with that, we're documenting all of the healing and transition processing from all these different organizations in the blockchain. So there's one ledger that anyone can go to, any veteran can go to from any country and say, how do they do it? How can I get to, from A to Z as quick as possible with, the most efficiency as possible? And that's our mission. So we're not creating anything new. We're consolidating what's already out there. Look, there's 22 veterans kill themselves every day. 22 every single day. I get called once a week. I lose a friend every month or two or 3 times a month. Friends that I knew, I have more friends that are
suicide.
Yeah, I have more friends that killed themselves than I have friends. It's crazy. That's been like that for 20 years. 20 veterans a day for 20 years. There's 50 times more nonprofits out there helping veterans, and it's not being reduced. Yeah, because fragmentation and competition, and we're like, all right, enough of that shit. We're just going to give you guys money, but you got to work together. And now we're working with the Veteran Chamber of Commerce, VetCoin, all these different veteran organizations. I talked to a guy last night here in London. Fucking dude blew my mind. He's doing like watch NFTs for $5 million and just ridiculous, crazy stuff. And he's really excited about that project as well, about the veteran space. Because this is, like you were talking about, it's not just a picture, right? Behind this NFT is an entire ecosystem. And you're talking about building a community. You got to build a community like, I forget what Baju was talking about, building a community. Or you can take an existing community like we had, like 1 million veterans, and you introduce them to NFTs and you educate them, which is a big pain in the ass, but we're in the middle of it, trying to explain to them what it's not just a picture, and that there's actually something behind it, And so the utility and the application behind it is very important for us as well, to make sure that we keep that aligned. And if you want to look at it as a classic business sense, which is what I do, is we have this organization, HAVE, it's been there for 4 years, 3.5 years, and the NFT space is the finance arm, so the funding arm of our organization. That's just what I say. And when you purchase an NFT, you're purchasing fractional ownership of the mission, fractional ownership of whatever it is that we're going to do. We're going to have fractional real estate investment. We have that already set up. We're getting ready to go with that. So when you buy an NFT, you can actually buy into a real estate project, get returns and all that kind of stuff.
So you've just explained that super elegantly.
Yeah.
And but we're going through that journey. So I can't swear. I can swear. The head fuck of trying to learn that. Talk us through that, because we never, NFTs. Yeah. No, we didn't know what that. No one knew what that was, how it worked.
Well, I'm the guy that when the copy machine in the office isn't working, I'm the one who looks at the plug, see if it's plugged in, right? So I keep everything simple. Like I'm talking like Barney style. And so when I was talking to all these people, I'm like, would you stop talking about NFT and verb and all the verbiage and all the acronyms? I'm like, just stop and tell me what the hell it is.
Yeah.
And he said, well, it's like if you buy stock in a company, you own now a piece of that company. Or it's like when you invest in Kickstarter campaign, you have a piece of that. I was like, why didn't you say that in the first place? That's pretty much what it is. That's all it is. But it's a ownership, it's a certificate of ownership of whatever it is that you're selling. Yeah. And it's on. I was talking to a guy last night. He's doing a museum. He has the first metaverse museum. He's got the first boxing. He's just signed a deal with UFC. So he's doing all of the metaverse boxing rings. He has avatars in there that fight even if you're not in there, to keep it look like it's crazy shit. Millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars going into this. And like you were talking before, you're either going to get on board or you're going to be left behind. Like, you have to do this. You have to get involved. It's a must.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even tell you some of the stuff he said because I'd sound like an idiot, but I believe him. The stuff that he was talking about.
How are you getting around because obviously you're selling the NFTs in, I'm guessing ETH. You're taking payments in ETH, and then but veterans or the charities that you're supporting, you're having to bridge that out to fiat currency. I'm guessing to give them fiat currency.
No, they
take crypto as well.
Yeah. Well, we have to.
Yeah.
They have to open a wallet, a MetaMask, and that's the only way we can give them the money. But
and then eventually, I'm guessing they're going to have to bridge out to actually make a real impact.
There's ways to do that. Yeah, ways to do that. Well, more and more organizations are taking crypto anyway, so it's not a big deal. But we have different ways of doing it. We work with Wire, WYRE. They do the credit card processing, fiat purchasing of crypto, and you'll buy our NFT with a credit card, and that'll automatically be sent over to Coinbase as Ethereum, and then sent to us. Yeah, pretty cool.
Wow. So we do a quick reset?
Yeah, so quick. I'm just looking at the. We've had some questions already from the chat. So let's take a reset, and then we'll take some questions from the chat, and we'll also get some people up on stage to ask our fantastic guest Stephen Coon some questions after this little fancy jingle.
You are listening to Breakfast with Winners. Exclusive content direct from the Winners Club. If you are enjoying the conversation, click on the green Monopoly house at the top of the screen right now and join the thousands of winners already in our community. For even more actionable content and powerful lessons, download the free companion app now. Just search for the Winners Club in the App Store or Google Play. For more information about the Winners Club and how to become part of our growing community, head to thewinnersclub.club. Now, back to the show.
Sorry, we distracted ourselves in the studio. Nobody realised that all the jingles and stuff had finished. Right, we've had some questions already in the chat. So there's two ways we're going to do this morning, gang. By the way, if you're enjoying this conversation, do us a favour. Click onto the little share button at the bottom of the room and share this room out, because only 19 people have done this. We would love to get more people hearing about this conversation. So the little square button with the arrow, click onto that and share it out, please. You don't have to share it onto your socials, just share it onto the Clubhouse hallway so that people who are already here in Clubhouse know that this conversation is happening, because I think there's been mega value already this morning. And now, if you'd like to ask Stephen a question around his background, his history, his heritage, his military background, his business acumen, the NFT, Web3 stuff that he's doing, anything to support the veterans, you can do so. I'm sorry, throwing him under the bus here. If you'd like to know anything you want to know, this guy knows it ever. Then you can do so. You can either ask the question in the chat, or you can flash your mic if you are on stage.
Do it.
And if you're not on stage and you'd love to ask a question, stick your hand up. All we ask is that you've got a filled out bio, so we can just check that you are a real person rather than a bot that's just trying to get onto the stage. So if you can, we'll reset the hand raise. We'll turn it off. We'll turn it back on.
I've got a question for Stephen, because we've spoke a lot. And it's everyone sees how strong you actually are, but you've been through challenges yourself.
Yeah.
Would you share them stories that when you went through a really bad place because of how you overcome it?
Sure, yeah. Well, let's talk about the big one, right? So back in 2008, there was a big crash in 2007. We had a mortgage charter in America, lost all our money. The whole big crash in 2007, 2008, and I was struggling a little bit. And I was in Berlin. I had a toxic relationship. I was in a car with my girlfriend at the time, and I was homeless, right? So I had a smart car, and I was living in that smart car in 2008, and in Berlin. And she was arguing with me, and I told her, I said, just get out, please, you're killing me. And I hit the gas, and it was a 2.5 liter smart, so it was like a fast one. I took off down the road, and in 100 meters, there was a speed trap with the police. And I was going like 90 in a 30 zone. And I was crying. I had snot coming out of my nose. And at the time I was 136 kilos. I'm
in a smart car.
In a smart car, and I'm 100 kilos now, so the difference is massive. And I got out, and these police were there. Was like all these vans and everything, and they're like, you're crazy? What's going on? You're going so fast. And I was just crying. And they're like, hold on, okay, what's going on here? And so they sort of froze and were standing around me. And this my girlfriend walked up because it was only 100 meters, and she's like, he's a war criminal. He murdered people, and like how psycho she was. And I just lost it. And so I looked at the police officer beside me, and it was a trainee police officer. And I reached down, unsnapped her holster, and pulled the weapon out. I was going to shoot myself. And my girlfriend's like, do it.
Wow.
Yeah. And so at the same time that she was doing it, they tackled her. This little police officer beside me, this young woman, took my hand gently and pushed it back down lowered it back down into her holster. No one did anything. Everybody froze except for her. And she turned to me and said, "This is not you. I know you." I was like, what? It just completely blew my mind. So they put me in a paddy wagon. We talked for a while. They didn't press charges for the weapon thing, but they did take my car and my license. So I went back to my apartment, which wasn't mine because I was renting it out because I couldn't afford it. I was living in my car. And I had a buddy staying there. I said, "Dude, I need the apartment for like an hour, please." He's like, "All right, go ahead." So I went in, took my uniform out of the closet, hung it up, took a picture, put it down there of myself in the uniform, pulled out a K-bar, which is a big Marine bayonet, stuck it to my neck, and I was going to slice my neck open. And someone knocked on the door. And I was like, God, I can't even kill myself. Like, what a loser. You know what I mean? Like,
Twice in a day. Come on, guys.
Dang it, man, And I opened the door. It was her. It was that police officer.
No.
And she's like, "Can I come in?" I'm holding the knife. Again, she takes my hand, lowers it, puts it on the counter, takes me into my own living room and says, "Stephen, I read your book. I was at one of your readings. You're an amazing man. You're going to change the world. This isn't you." I was like, well, because I had written a book in Germany. It was a bestseller. And I was like, what the it was like an angel. And she left, and I knew that I wasn't safe, so I called my buddy in Austria, and Michael Wagner, and I said, "Dude, come get me, or I'm not going to be here tomorrow. I'm not going to make it." So he sent me a plane ticket. I flew to Austria. He picked me up and dropped me off in a monastery. And I lived there for 8 months. No phone, no laptop, didn't tell anybody where I was. I just disappeared for 8 months.
Wow.
Into this monastery, and I lived with the monks, the Benedictine monks, who chant, pray, and meditate. So I learned all of that stuff in a way that I didn't speak for probably the first 3 weeks, not a word. And I lived there for 8 months and just disappeared from society. And you know what happened? When I came back after 8 months, I'm like, "Hey guys, what's going on? Hey Steve, how you doing?" No one asked a question. I'm like, "Did you realize I was gone for 8 months? Really?" Like, I wasn't as important as I thought I was. That was like complete clarity for me from that point on. And remember, I had a best-selling book. I was on TV. I did MTV, VJ. I had cocktail bars and clubs and all that stuff from before. So everybody knew me. The whole city knew me. But I was gone for 8 months and no one even noticed. And so that's what I mean, like out of sight, out of mind, like that. And our importance that we think that we're important isn't about who we are, what we are. It's what we do and the impact that we have and the legacy that we leave. And that's sort of like my mission in life. Like, I want to leave a legacy with the veterans, and I want to bring them into the abundant state of the new digital economy with the team. That's the HAVE team. Lane Balone, Sarah. We have a partner in Australia. She's Indian, right? She's helping us with HAVE. She's taking care of the Australian veterans. We have veterans here in the UK that are helping, taking care of the UK veterans. And we want to have UK, have Australia, we have New Zealand soldiers. There's a New Zealand veteran NFT project we're collaborating with. This is worldwide. It's amazing. It's something that, look, you can't think small anymore, man. These days, Web3, whatever you think you understand, tomorrow it's going to be completely different or expanded. The more you learn, the less you know, kind of thing. As to quote U2, the more you learn, the less you know.
Wow, what an unbelievable journey. We've got loads of people who are messaging in the background who would love to ask a question. So I think it's only fair and correct that we do so. We'll go Nichelle first, and then we'll go to, there was a question in the chat, which I'll come to after that. So we'll go to Nichelle first.
I see Mimi's blinking too.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that as well. So let's go for, Nichelle first, then Mimi, then we'll go to our chat question.
Hey, brilliant.
Nichelle, over to you.
Yeah, hi, morning. Stephen, what an amazing journey. I come from a forces background. My father flew Lancaster bombers in Germany.
Wow.
We were stationed in Minden.
Yes.
And we were also there when the Berlin Wall came down. And I totally get that. I was in the TA for 4 years. So that whole camaraderie, that family, if you've not lived it, you don't get it. And we in our family still say Roger Wilco and all. So it's really cool. I totally resonate. Just for the benefit of the room, it's globally, people lose their lives to suicide every 40 seconds now. Yeah, it's just phenomenal. So yeah, amazing story, amazing journey, and you're one of God's, angels that's out there doing amazing stuff. My question is, I'm building launching a school next year, and for the right reasons, because we care about people, not about stats, and I'm introducing, like the boys have been talking about, the John Lewis style NFT, everybody wins in the community. I'm really curious to know, what utility do you offer the veterans? What apart from being part of the commercial property and that portfolio, what else do you offer them?
Well, right now we're offering them to buy the NFT, and then we're going to build that out. So what's planned is obviously we have live events, in-person events, online symposiums. We have access to the entire network through the consolidation of all the information on the blockchain, so you can have quicker results. We work with all the transitioning programs, which is key. But on the other side, on the digital side, investment pools, staking. We're also going to invest a portion of the profits in other forms besides crypto, like gold and silver and real estate. So we're going to do the fractional M&A as well.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, thanks. That was great steer. Brilliant.
Sure thing.
Cheers.
Right, we'll go to...
Can I just give people a reminder, actually, because we've, or not a reminder, somebody sent me the message. So just to be clear, we're talking through my head. I'm Paul and I'm in the middle, but we're actually all live from a studio, which you can click on the link at the top to see that. And we've got Stephen Kuhn, who is also on stage, third row down on my screen.
Refresh, he's under you.
He's under me. Okay.
No, I just refreshed. It's like third row now.
Anyway, so we've got, I'm Paul Abercrombie, I'm at the top. We've got Ashley Shipman, James Burt here with me in the studio, and our guest Stephen Kuhn. So that's who we are.
Ironically, the top row is a lot less powerful than the third row in this instance. There's a lot more clout, but third row left than there is top row. Like absolutely reverse hierarchy happening today.
So anyway, if you want to watch this, you can go and click on the YouTube. And if you don't, you can listen to us. There we go. Let's clarify that. Over to you, James. Carry on.
Oh, no, I was just going to go to Mimi now. Mimi, what's your question?
Oh, hello, good morning. Yes, hello, good morning, Stephen. And first of all, thank you so much for sharing your amazing life's journey with us. It was incredible. And I love what you were saying about the mind conditioning, and that one event, jumping over that wall, broke your own perception of yourself and changed your whole identity. And within time, you conditioned that new identity inside of yourself. And you also said that to become, to overcome your fears, that you have to have that focus and that determination, regardless of what situation you're in. Before I ask your question, I'm getting there. I just love also that, the part that you're saying about divine intervention, because it was not your time and you were guided towards your true life purpose and mission, which I think is phenomenal. But I just wanted to ask you, probably not now, but is there any times today that you still go back to that old identity? Does it ever appear? Or have you now imprinted that new identity so firmly within you that there's no traces of the old you left now, today? Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Mimi. And also for the message earlier. That was great. Thank you so much. Glad to know you. It's there. Obviously, it's still there. I don't know if you can ever get rid of it. I think that's it. So I see life as a series of different games where we're supposed to have joy and enjoy life. But along with that, and able to have joy, you have to have sorrow, and you know the deal, dark light kind of thing, right? And so no, it's still there sometimes. In my I had a recent separation. It was a surprise to me that my wife left about almost 6 months ago. And it absolutely crushed me, and that's where the old me came out. Like, you're not worthy. What happened? You didn't do what you said you were going to do, or you weren't good enough, and all these kind of things. So yeah, it brought me to the point where I had those thoughts again. And if it wasn't for my kids, I probably wouldn't be here right now. And that's just the honest truth. I'm married for 13 years. The whole works. Moved to Hungary for her, and all this kind of stuff. And it really crushed me. And that old guy was back. That 19-year-old doofus came back, and it was stronger than ever. It was crazy. And then, of course, PTSD kicked in, depression kicked in, and that depression led to then the suicidal thoughts. And then I got help really quick, actually, in Clubhouse. Trey Lowe, if you know him, he has a room. And I went in that room, and I did a 3.5-hour live session 2 days after my life left me in Clubhouse. And Susan was actually there as well that night on the second row, Susan. And so I just bared all, because I knew if I didn't get help, just like before, they sent me to a monastery. This time I got sent to Clubhouse. So yeah, Mimi, it's always there.
Trey was one of our first studio guests when we set the studio up. Yeah, he was one of the first guests that came in to see us.
We had drinks the night before last. Great guy.
Thank you so
yes.
much, Stephen, for answering that. And you're right, it's just conditioning your mind and learning how to be able to self-identify when you're going through those triggers, and then just learning techniques to bring yourself back, like you said, through breathing and everything else. So thank you so much. Really appreciate you.
Thank you for the question. Maybe we should hop on a Zoom call one time, get to know each other.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be
all
great.
Right,
Thank
let's
you.
do it.
Right, who's next? Flash of microphones. Where are we going? Did James say an order? Or
No,
not?
no, he didn't.
We'll work down if we can keep our questions concise, and we'll try and get Stephen to give some concise answers. We'll get through as many as we can. We'll go Susan, Amy, Beju in that order. Go for it, Susan.
Oh, thanks, Paul. Morning, guys. My voice has got worse and worse and worse. Oh, sorry. I sound deeper than normal. Hey, Stephen. It's always so good to hear you and feel your energy, because I think you make people feel on different levels when you speak. So just a massive shout out to say thank you. As some people, I think a lot of people that know me in here, my nephew committed suicide shortly after coming out of the Marines. He got a private job on the boats where guarded the pirate in Somalia. And everyone was like, wow, you live this glamorous life, because he was traveling. And what happened was all the demons that was inside him from years ago, he just had a time to be lonely, basically, and was like 12 to 18 hours a day just with his thoughts. He never got any help. No one offered him any help. And then he did, very sadly, unfortunately, end up taking his own life. My question to you is, when you said about being in the monastery and living there for 8 months, that would be like my dream. Like, I belong to Kadampa Meditation Centre, but it's very few and far between. I go to like these 3-hour workshops here and there. My question is for anyone because we know that that's key, right? You and I know that is the absolute key to true success in mindset. What do you say to people? What would be like the top tip, especially to young men, where they want to kind of get into this, but often it's still laughed at. People still laugh at, oh, it's woo-woo, it's airy-fairy, and all of that shit. And we know that that's not true at all. What do you say to people is the best way to get into that, to get help, and to do it quickly if they don't have months to kind of go and spend somewhere?
Yeah, great. It's community, isn't it? So it's all about the community, the people that have been there and done that, and that's why my biggest success is relative, but I'd say my biggest reason for the success that I have is because I always ask for help every day, every single day, and that's what we got to do. We got to be scared. And you know what? I don't give a damn what people think. It isn't that I don't care. I just don't give a damn, because it's not gonna dictate who I am. Everything we have, everything we need, everything we ever wanted is inside of us right now. We just need to learn how to unleash it and let it go. I haven't gotten there yet, and I probably never will. The universal knowledge is massive. We can't use it all, and we can't know it all, but we can certainly find our way through what fits for us in the world around us. And it's something that we have to just drop any kind of external influences, excess potential as far as excess importance or excess desire on certain things. We need to lower that, reduce that, so that we could have a balanced life moving forward. I know balance is hard to achieve, but I like to call it integration. We have integrated life where we are who we are, and we carry along the baggage that we had, but we carry that baggage elegantly and to our advantage. I know that's not a direct answer, but basically it's help. Reach out. That's the biggest thing. I have veterans calling me almost every week. Steve, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be here anymore. And I just talk to them straight up, and so reaching out for help is probably the best thing. I give you organizations' names and all that kind of stuff, but everyone has a different need. Just reach out to your veteran community and those who support the veterans.
Awesome stuff. Great answer. I think how heavy does that weigh on you, that responsibility?
It's tough because it always brings up my my past, my suicidal thoughts, and it's almost
like an alcoholic having to go into a bar to rescue someone from drinking. I would imagine. But
I take it very seriously.
Yeah, of course.
And I do all I can to and we'll cry together, we'll yell together, we'll scream together, and it's people who don't even know me. Like, they just saw me in my tribe. We have the Vetpreneur tribe, which is almost 17,000 veteran entrepreneurs.
Oh wow.
And just saw, hey, Steve, you seem like a good guy. I need to talk to you. Like, I can't do this anymore. I'm a successful entrepreneur. I got 17 employees, but I was in a squad of 6 guys. 5 of them didn't come back, and only I did. I don't fucking deserve this. Excuse me. I don't freaking deserve this.
You say that everyone reaches out to you, but then you've been through some times, and it's like, even like recently, as you said, you went into Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Why don't they check on why are they not checking on the strong? Like, it's always the case.
Yeah.
I see it all the time.
Yeah.
They think you have your shit together the whole time, and they're never checking on you, and you would have that natural ability to be checking in on someone else. So how does that affect you, really? Not being able to go to the people that reach out to you? And
Well, I do. I'm different that way. Most people that get in a position where they're seen as a coach, mentor, advisor, whatever, like someone who's a figurehead. And in the veteran community, I was like number 2 veteran military influencer in America or something like that. I don't even know. Like very high up there. I'm like, really? I don't even live there. And so when you get to a position like that, people are like, oh, I can't talk about my problems, or I can't say that I have an issue because I'm the one that people go to help. I don't give a damn. I needed help. I needed help, and I reached out, man. That Clubhouse session with Trey was 3 hours. I was crying, I was screaming, I was yelling. I had like Dimple Thakral was on there coaching me, and I had like all these alpha and all these guys were on there, and these women were on there coaching me. And like I said, Susan was there. It was freaking incredible. But I had to reach out. I don't care what people think. Now, some people did say like, Steve, dude, you're like an advisor. This is going to make you look weak. I'm like, I'm not doing it for anybody else. I'm doing it for me, man. I don't, it's not about that. And I had other people who called and said, Stephen, I've watched your journey the last 1.5 months, how you went from like suicidal to now crushing it in 1.5 months. How did you do that? Can I work with you? You know what I mean? So it always comes, there's always good meaning in everything that we do. We just have to find it.
Powerful. We've had someone put a question in while you were talking earlier on, and I want to go back to it because it's a really good question. It was Nadine. Nadine Bernard asked to the guest speaker, what are the 3 questions or the 3 answers that get you through life?
Okay. In business. So when someone, my child or a business owner or an advisory client or a business partner, they ask me, hey, I got this problem. Can you help me out? What's the issue? That kind of stuff. I will always ask, well, what are the 3 solutions that you come up with? And the first time they're like, 3? What do you mean 3? Well, look at it in business as a client, as a customer maybe, and as a distributor, or as the leader of the company. And then come back and tell me what those 3 are. And they come back and they tell you what the 3 are, and then you ask, like, well, which one stands out for you? Well, this one. Well, then go do it. And what you're doing is you're empowering them. You're delegating the task, not the responsibility. But you don't want to give people answers all the time because then you're not doing anything for them. You know the deal. Teach a man to fish, that kind of thing, right? It's the same thing, and I do have my kids too. So if they want something, I'm going to ask them for a choice. So, well, what are your choices? What choices would you take right now? Like, do you want to take a bath and then do this, or you want to do this and then take a bath? And that way, I'm not saying go take a bath. They get a choice, and they'll be like, I'm going to play first and then take a bath. Okay, you just agreed to taking a bath without.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That's sort of how you empower them to make their own decisions, and then they feel really, really empowered about that, and they feel better, and then they start doing it on their own. They don't even ask you anymore. And so they're the 3 questions. Always find out 3 answers to their own question, 3 suggestions for a solution. It's all about solutions in the end anyway.
Why is it 3? Because it's 3. Like in the coaching space, it's like 3 targets, 3 things, 3 achievements.
Because the mind remembers things in groups of 3, 6, 9, 12, and so on and so forth. That's how the mind remembers. So that's when you see on stage, people always have 3 points of this and 3 points of that and that kind of stuff. Now everybody's trying to be slick, 7 and 9, but it's 3, 6, 9, 12, it's 3. And the body sleeps in 90-minute cycles as well. So you can literally sleep 90 minutes a day and be fully awake. If you go to sleep exactly at minute 1 and wake up exactly at minute 90. I've done it in the military because you have to take power naps. You don't have time to sleep. And man, you got energy all day long. So it's cycles of 30, cycles of 90 when you're sleeping.
Okay. Right, we're going to be taking some more questions, guys, just in case you have just joined the room and you're wondering what this conversation is all about this morning. So you are joining us in Breakfast with Winners, brought to you by the Winners Club. And we have got a fantastic guest this morning. We have got the fantastic Stephen Coon. He's down on the 3rd row on the left-hand side. And we're talking to him about his amazing journey and what he's doing in the sort of the world of Web3 at the moment, all the veteran projects and everything else in between. If you were listening about an hour ago, this is a guy who's had an amazing journey and has gone from self-confessed doofus to, leader of men and a real thought leader in his space and a powerful force for good from everything that I can see. And if you are listening, and you can flash your mic and you can ask a question. We've got Ame and Beju who are already flashing. So let's go to Ame first and then we'll go Beju. So Ame, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Stephen. I just wanted to give a huge set of flowers to you, Stephen, for sharing so vulnerably and graciously and courageously I am a daughter of a disabled vet who passed away, who served in Korea, and he was a marksman, and did live with trauma. So I do get that, and I was also a 9/11 volunteer. So I definitely want to say that I see what you're saying, and I feel what you're saying, and I'm so grateful that you're with us, and I'm so grateful that you're still here, and I'm grateful that that angel that crossed your path in those two instances, and your friends who are also uniquely placed in your path to help you get to where you need to go to complete your mission. The unique part that you shared that I found interesting is that you spent 8 months in a monastery, and I found it to be really powerful because when you did come out and you realized something super important that I think is vital for many people to recognize as well, not just people that have served their country, anyone. I think we really may need to also assess how we connect with human beings and who's really, like you would say, your inner circle, your tribe, your community. And my question for you is on the NFT side of the project you're doing and working with, because I know you made it very Yip and Yannicka, as we say in Holland, but I'm from the US. You made it very Yip and Yannicka, which was palatable for anyone to understand.
Right.
You mentioned fractionalizing ownership, right? And you put two words together that raised my ear.
Right.
Clearly, because fractionalized ownership implies a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
Because I follow you now, and I know you followed me for a while, so I kind of want to just get a thought on how you were able to deliver that piece of explanation, and I'll just be cheeky, without having like anyone in regulator run after you with that statement, because whenever everyone hears that, they freak out and they're like, "Oh my God, it's fractionalized regulation," and I'm like, "Relax, everyone, relax," because NFT stands for really APO, authenticity, provenance, and ownership.
Mm-hmm.
So they have ownership to a piece of the project that you're working with your veterans, correct?
Right.
Yes or no?
Exactly.
To keep it super simple, right?
Yep, exactly.
It means that they're part of your community.
Yes.
So you're not doing something crazy like with Nexos and Liquidity and et cetera, et cetera.
No.
You're really just, and I wanted to know I understood correctly because that's what I interpreted.
Yes.
But I also want to make sure that the audience doesn't start to sort of drive it down another path.
Yeah.
Because community building is something super humbly important to this space, wherever your community sits. And I also wanted to make the humble offer. I used to teach yoga in a prison system in New York City, upstate New York, not New York City, but upstate New York. And I used to teach meditation as well. And I too lived in an ashram for almost a year. So where I could be of service, please just ask. Please just ask. You know, I volunteer a lot with military, volunteer a lot with VA when I was able to. So if I could be of service to help you, support you in your mission, please do not hesitate to ask.
Thank you so much, Ami.
You're welcome.
Great words. Wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome stuff. The power of Clubhouse kicking in yet again. If only Clubhouse would listen to these conversations rather than sending out boxes of hats and flipping socks. Do you know what I mean? Jesus Christ. Right. Beju, we're coming to you next, amigo. Beju, over to you.
Thanks, James. Stephen, so good to hear you this morning. Yeah, man. Yeah, I love the story. And I think
you were in the room that night too, weren't you?
Yeah. I was at the back end of it, and it was. And the thing is, it was really interesting you say that, because like we all have this, like as she says, we look at the strong and you think, oh, they're strong, and even if they have challenges, they've got the tools to deal with it, and they'll just get on with deal with it. But you were so vulnerable, so public, raw, and like you said, you didn't do it you didn't do it for being noticed. You were in a place where it was gonna end. It was gonna end. And I know Trey, Susan, a lot of them, Dimple were really fantastic. So I was at the back end of that. So yeah, it was one of those Clubhouse moments. And that's the thing, the power of this type of social media, which is an audio. We have to be live. It's not like you schedule a post or you put something out there, which is fantastic. But you've got this fantastic sort of polar opposites, whereby you've got this you're doing some great things. You've done some great things, the military, the business and NFTs. And then you've got this fantastic, vulnerable side. There's going to be people in this room who are not necessarily on the edge of it ending, but just feel a sense of, oh my God, really? Not what's the point, but I don't think I can do it. Every time I take a step forward, I'm always taking 3 steps back. What would you say to that? Because sometimes we cater for the extreme, I'm going to commit suicide, and they're really successful. But there's a lot of people in the middle who are just sort of floating, and they're just not, the pain's not enough for them to take a big step, but then they get regrets, and they feel frustrated in their lives, and they just, before they know it, 10, 15 years have passed. Oh, what have I done? What would you say to those people?
Well, first of all, if we want to realize that most of society lives in the trauma and mistakes of the past, and they live in the anxiety of the future, and they rarely ever live right now. And when you realize that everything that you need, like I said before, is already inside of you, you just need to learn to unleash it and learn to let it go, of the things that we think that we're supposed to do. There's a lot of times that we look at the how we're going to do something, and the how will drive you insane because you can't control the how. You need to get certain about what it is that you're doing. So I always say certainty is about not about certainty in the world around you. It's about being certain in your ability to deploy your genius and your talents in any given situation that the world presents to you. If we're sitting here right now and then the hurricane happens, I'll deal with it. SWAT comes in, which could probably happen. I'll deal with it. You know, like I know that I can deal with every situation. So that's where that certainty comes in. And getting certainty came from or comes from what we call articulating your own operating system. And that's what the Humble Alpha book is all about, Unleash Your Humble Alpha. It's based on 5 core models that allow you to articulate and extract your own operating system, because much like a PC, the hard drive is there, the operating system is there. And if I ask anyone in this room or anyone on the app, what's your operating system or what are your core principles? You know, you'd be like, nice, be nice, and love, and whatever, you know, but I can tell you, I got hit creating space, life enterprise, relational capital, and quality of life. They're my 5 models that I live by, and I can tell you exactly what they do. And what that does is it allows me to have a foundation from which I can build. And it gives me a powerful place of where I can always stand to make sure that I'm doing the best that I can in my own ability. So, Baju, that's sort of the deal is like, forget about what other people are saying about you. Forget about what other people are thinking about you. I know it's hard to do, right? Don't worry about it. Focus on you living now and expanding what it is that's in front of you instead of worrying about the trauma from the past or the anxiety of the future.
Yeah, no, great, because I hear you, and I think it's that certainty of yourself and not worrying about, like the example where you went away for 8 months. You thought, hey, I'm someone. You come out. Well, oh, sorry, were you gone, Stephen? Didn't notice.
Yeah.
You know, and it's that paradox that we are so important, but we're not that important.
Exactly.
You know, we're a speck in the universe, but we have a duty, being the speck, to make sure that all the other specks grow as well.
Amen.
Yeah, great.
Amen. And one of the ways to do that is like if you hit a problem or you have an issue or a challenge, look at why you're looking at it as a challenge first. Don't look at the challenge and say, why do I see that as a challenge? And pan out like you would in a movie and look at your entire lifeline. And go back to when you're 8 years old. Do you think this moment will affect it? You know, if it happened back then, no. And then go ahead and say, like, how much of effect will this moment in my life, no matter what the problem is, have in the rest of my life? And you can always say it'll be nothing. You'll forget about it in 3 days, right? So that puts everything in perspective. It lowers, it reduces the excess potential. In other words, excess importance or excess desire. There's a thing that's called want energy. And so, like, if you want to make $1 million, you go, okay, I got to make a plan, vision board. I have to do this. I believe, right? But if you want to go to the kiosk and buy a newspaper, what do? Do you make a plan? Do you like, okay, I believe I can get the newspaper? You just go get the freaking newspaper. And if you don't get the newspaper because you get distracted because we meet and have a coffee, then it's no big deal. You go get a newspaper somewhere else. If we can use that energy and keep that importance and desire as low as possible and use the one energy like going to check in, get a newspaper, life is grand. I'm really working hard on that to make sure that happens, because when you put too much excess potential on one thing, balanced forces of the universe is going to try to push it down so you can keep it balanced and you won't get what you want. The more you want something, the less of a chance you're going to get it.
Yeah, that's the paradox. It's like how a sat nav works. When you put the postcode in the sat nav, it just tells you the next step.
Yeah.
The whole route is there if you want it, but just the next step, the next turning, and that's it. And then if there's an obstacle, the next turning, we'll just deal with that turning.
Yep.
And you'll get there eventually. No, great. Thank you, Stephen. Great,
Cheers,
brother.
James.
Awesome stuff. Right, give us a flash of the mics, guys, if you'd like to ask Stephen a question. We've brought some new people up on stage. If you have just a request to come on stage, I presume it is because you've got a question. If so, give us a flash of the mic. We'll come to you guys, especially because we've got some new faces. So let's go to Gareth. Gareth is new to the stage. So we'll go Gareth, and then we'll go Mirage, and then we'll go Sarah, and then we'll go Amanda. And I'm going to write that down, or else people are going to be disappointed very quickly. Gareth, coming to you first, pal.
Yeah, Stephen, great share, and you've just brought so many memories back, because I'm a combat veteran as well.
There we go.
But the question I'd like to ask is, you've just answered one of the ones I was going to ask, and when we were in the military, it's right or wrong, going strong. But the question I was going to ask is, you've been in some pretty deep, dark places. what's the one thing that jolts you out of it? And that goes for anybody that's been in business or, had trauma or anything like that. Do you have one thing that just jolts you out of that deep, dark place? Thank you.
Well, yeah. Well, for me personally, it's always Sergeant Young M. Dillon, who died in my arms. And if I can't do it for him, then I don't deserve to freaking be here. You know what I mean? It's like he's up there right now looking down at me, playing spades or dominoes with the other guys and being like, Kuhn, don't F this up, man. Don't F this up. And so I think that's, for me, it's one of the massive drivers. It's hard, though, sometimes, it really is, where you're just like, maybe I should just go join them, play some spades and relax, but you can't let that happen. You have responsibilities to yourself and to the mission that you have in life to make a difference in the world, create radiant value, the ripple effect in the world around you, moving forward with imperfect action, creating as we go, co-creating with the world around us. I just live for that. I live for that. And so I know that if I'm in a situation, I created it. I have to take full responsibility for that no matter what. And I need to find my way out through co-creation of an exit.
Great answer. We've also, Paul had someone message in his DMs and just said, how do you get past, and it sort of leads on from Gareth's question. Thanks, Gareth, for that. And how do you get past the suicidal thoughts? Do they ever go away for you?
No, they never go away. I acknowledge them as what they are, as things. And I'm like, okay, I see you, I hear you, I feel you. What do you want from me today? Kind of thing. And I'll visualize it as a thing, and then I'll let it go through me. I'll feel the pain. I'll remember, have the memories and all these things. But it's very fast now, so it'll take like a couple hours, and then it'll be gone. It comes out of my body. I can see it like going away, like a thing. I do it in meditation, of course.
And is this is it a daily basis that this?
No, it's not a daily basis. No, not
so
anymore.
It will sort of appear. The thought will appear, and then
yeah.
you sort of visualize it to process it.
Yeah, it was daily. I mean, there's times it's daily. I mean, when my wife first left, it was every day here. What am I doing here? I don't want to be here. Like every second. And what you're doing is you're internalizing those thoughts, and it makes it harder and harder to turn around and go away from it. So you got to catch yourself. I mean, Trey called me one time. He called me like 3 days later, and Trey Lowe, and he's like, "How you feeling?" I said, "I don't want to be here right now." He said, "All right, Stephen, I'm going to call you every hour for the next 3 days, and make sure that you're there." It's crazy. It was amazing.
Well, how does it present itself? So in case this is someone who is sort of really struggling, is it a thought? Do you see it as a vision? Is it a feeling? Like when it comes to you, that because everyone calls it suicidal thoughts, but right. Is it a feeling? How does it present itself?
I love you're saying this because the mind doesn't feel and the heart doesn't think.
Yeah.
And when they're aligned, you have the thoughts and the feelings. That's when your heart and your mind are aligned, and that's when you have true power. Well, that's what it is, because you have the pain of the loss, you have the pain and the fear, the buddies, or whatever it is that survivor guilt, same thing, and you're thinking about the things that happen. So you're actually aligning it and making it very, very powerful. It's hard to do that on purpose for good things, but for negative things, the society's really good at that. So it's both. It's a feeling and a thought. And I got to power myself through. I just call friends like, dude, I need to talk right now. Like right now. I need to talk right freaking now. And it's too easy to say, I don't want to burden anybody. I'm a pain in the ass for everybody. I mean, even my business partner, Lane, after a couple of days, he's like, dude, I can't hear this shit anymore. I can't hear it. Come on, man. And he's a veteran too. He's like, dude, come on. You're a powerful man. You can get through this. It'll get better. I hate when someone's like, it'll get better. You want to punch him right in the face. You're like, no shit, it's going to get better, but it's not good right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and you just get so mad when people say these things like, oh, Steve, you're a good guy. You're a strong guy. You're good looking. There's a girl, whatever. You're like, what is that? It has nothing to do with what I'm going through right now. Quit trying to motivate me. I need inspiration, not motivation. Big difference.
And do you have a group around you so you can go to Lane because he's going to go, come on, sort yourself out. But you've also got someone who will let you just cry out. Have you got sort of like people for each purpose? And do you know intrinsically like, I need that love and support right now, or I need that kick up the arse?
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly what it is. And I also, at that time, after the room with Trey, I literally went out and hired 4 coaches. Dimple was one of them, Dimple Thakrar. And I powered through 4 hours a day for a month and a half every single day, man. And I was like pounding myself to get back to where I needed to be. And now I've surpassed where I was before mentally, to the point where I actually support my wife and say like, look, I'm glad you're doing this for yourself, and let me help you.
Wow.
I know, it's crazy.
And what would you say to someone, like, let's just say someone was having suicidal thoughts? What would you say to do? Because everyone sort of says instantly, go get help.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, it's not as easy as that sometimes. Yeah. And the world we live in as well, especially with men, like, it's like, what would you do? Like, what would you say to the audience today? Like, okay.
Well, that keeps coming up, men and men and men and men. I don't give a damn, man, woman, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, we are who we are. Yeah. Own that shit, right? Own who you are. Own your presence in life. But the thought is this: no matter what you think, you're worth it, and you're capable of so much more. You know, and no matter how bad you feel about yourself, and all the mistakes you made, and all the loss that you had, and all these things that you see yourself as critical, there's just as many goods out there as there are bads out there. Unfortunately, we've been programmed to look at the bads, and you're just worth so much more than what you think you are. Just get around people that'll show you that, and it'll keep preaching that, you know, that circle of influence. Just go out and find people that will elevate you. Like, I have a saying in life. Like, this is my life mission is to create radiant value to elevate others to a higher frequency. That's why you'll always hear me speaking negative, or I'm positive and no negatives. Because that's my mission. I want to elevate people to a higher frequency. You know, and if we can elevate one person at a time, because the only real effect you can have in the world is in your world. Like, so I'm talking to you three right now. This is the effect I can have. Clubhouse is my direct world now because I'm connected to it. But like going to a demonstration for global warming or something probably won't have much effect. Because this is funny because people say, Stephen, global warming and we have to save the planet. And I'm like, do you recycle? And they're like, well, no, we don't, just a little bit, And I'm like, well, then go do that in your world and then come back and talk to me about changing the world, right? So change your world first. And it's the same thing with these thoughts is all that stuff out there that you're thinking has nothing to do with you. It's not your fault what happened or didn't happen. It's not, you're better than what you think you are, and you're so worthy of what the world has to offer. Look, we were put here by whoever to be joyful and live a life of just pure joy and elation. That's why we're here, and we can do that. I'm not saying I live that way, but, we can do that. I just believe it.
In that moment as well, because obviously people who sort of get to that place are in a sort of a situation of crisis that they can either, they know they're in crisis, or I guess in the worst instances, they go too far before they realise they're in crisis, or it gets I've had people who are sort of close to me recently who've, and it's the people, again, sort of to Ash's point earlier, the strong, you would never have thought that they got to that place. And it's an amazing documentary, which I'd suggest that everybody watches, by Roman Kemp, who's the Capital FM presenter, and he sadly lost his best friend, who was his producer, during lockdown. And everyone's like, this was the guy who's the life and soul of the party. Yeah. This was the guy who never seemed to have a worry in the world. He had it all together. He had a nice apartment, his dream job. He played football on a Thursday with his pals. Like, he just never gave any signs. For those who maybe do get themselves into that point of really being in a dark place, how important do you think it is before you get there to almost have the ability to reach out to people? So you could say to like a Trey, or you could say to like a Susan, or you could say to whoever it may be, like, I think I might struggle at some point. Are you okay if I pick up the phone to you?
Yeah.
Do you think is that a thing to do? So you've almost got that circle. You go, shit, I've got that problem. I phone that person.
Yeah, most certainly you do that. I mean, I know who I can call. You know what I mean? Plenty of people. I have more friends on Facebook than I have in real life. I mean, on Clubhouse than I have in real life now. And making them real life, like you guys. I met you guys for the first time, so I can include you to like in real life, IRL. But it's finding that circle of support is very key. But you said something. It's always a strong one, right? It's always a strong one that be like, what? How? I thought you're such a great guy. All this kind of stuff. And that's because they are in a strong position. They would never reach out because they're scared of losing that, and letting people down. People counting on me because I'm the strong one. I can't let them down. Just let me disappear, And so watch for that. It's always the strong ones also overcompensating for self-esteem issues and stuff. Louder, harder, brasher. I know because that's how I used to be. And so there's a whole psychological issue behind all that and stuff. But empathy and understanding and finding a circle of friends that will jump in when you need them.
In that documentary, they actually said, so there's a sort of this presented. It's a really interesting documentary. It's really worth checking out. I think it's on BBC iPlayer. And Roman, who's this presenter, he goes and sort of speaks to groups of people who've lost friends, and you can see the sort of the devastating after effect of when people have made that decision. And he goes to a group in Ireland, and these kids are like 14 years old, and they're trying to process it. And again, they're like lads from a rough estate, and like one of them's crying on the football field, and the other one just puts his arm around him. You're just like, God, for these are children to have to go through this and process this is insane. But one of the things that he says, this group that he goes and chats to, they always ask each other, "You okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay." And then they'll ask again. They always ask twice, "But are you okay?" And they look each other in the eye and go, "But are you okay?" So rather than, "So how you doing?" "Yeah, I'm good. I'm right. Not bad." That's the traditional British thing. Not bad. Well, what an awful
Hanging
sentence is that? Yeah. Getting through, nearly Friday. But to actually say to people that almost do it twice. "Are you okay?" "But are you okay?"
If you knew someone, you know that second answer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know the second answer is not like, "No, but are you okay?"
Yeah.
'Cause it makes them think. And then
Yeah. Super uncomfortable to do to people, but actually, I've got a mate who's having a real hard time at the moment, and I'm checking in on him like daily. "How you doing?" "Yeah, I'm good." "But how are you doing?"
How you doing?
And I'm like just turning up at his house. Like it's starting to piss him off, to be honest. "Coffee?" He's like, "No, I'm all right." "But are you all right?" He's like, "Dude, I'm fine. I'm fine." But I'd rather piss him off than the alternative.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
right, we had a list, didn't we? And I've lost that list. We were going to Mirage next, weren't we? Mirage, over to you, pal.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, and it has actually made a lot of sense to me in the ways that you guys are speaking and having a community that supports you. And I was just wondering, how do you talk to yourself to continue to inspire yourself on a daily basis? Like, what are the things that you tell yourself to kind of get past the suicidal thoughts and bring you out of a dark place when you're triggered?
That's for me, right? Okay, so it's a process, of course. There's no like on and off, but for me, it has to do with routines and procedures. The first thing that you do if you come out of therapy, if you come out of detox or whatever, is you set up a routine, habits and routines, and that'll keep you from wandering off and sitting around twiddling your thumbs and then picking up a bottle or a joint or whatever it is that you whatever your crime of passion is. And so I always make sure that I have a really rigid routine to get started whenever I come into a situation like that. I will tighten the belt and make sure that I actually do the meditation, I actually do the audiobooks, I actually do the journaling, and get it out. And then I always go to the gym. I work out 7 days a week, only about 40 to 45 minutes. But I make sure that that entire rhythm is there. And what happens is discipline will get you to start these new habits. The habits will then become routines, and those routines become a part of your life. Once you get to that point, then it's about building upon top of that. Anyone who's read Atomic Habits by James Clear knows about habit stacking and all that stuff too. So that's the way that I build it, and make sure that I can go forward, Mirage, so that I'm pushing myself. If you want to know the actual things, I do the soul look. So I'll go to the mirror in the morning when I'm sort of not feeling good, even when I am feeling good. I'll look into my eyes, past my eyes, into my soul, I guess you could say, and I talk to myself in the mirror.
That's come up a few times, actually. You're not the first person to say that in this room.
Yeah.
Who else said that? Spencer Lodge said he looks himself every day, like deep into his pupils.
Yep.
Awesome stuff. Great question, Mirage, and a great answer as well. Right, we're going to go to Sarah next, and then to Amanda. We're going to try and get through as many questions as possible because lots of people wanted to ask stuff this morning. Sarah, over to you.
Hi, this is such an interesting conversation. I have lost a couple of people to suicide, one quite recently actually. What I wanted to know is, one of the questions that always comes in my head is there anything you can change your mind? So I'll give you an example. Someone I knew was very close to me. He tried to take his own life, and he didn't go through with it because he went to see his friend, and his friend more or less talked him out of it. And then 2 weeks later, he actually took his own life. So in my mind, I always think to myself, if someone's going to actually do it, is there anything you can physically do? Because it's something that's really bothered me. I just wondered what your thoughts were on that.
Well, that's always the issue. In America, it's a big issue because we do what we call welfare checks. So we'll call the police or we'll call the fire department if no one can get a hold of them for a little while. Especially when they post on Facebook like, "Hey guys, I'm done. Thanks for the time. And everybody just freaks out, like, okay, call them and find him and drive by, and no one can find him. What's going on? So we call the police or the fire department. And what happens then is, unfortunately, they always overreact. And in America, if you have weapons in your house, then the police come in, bust the door down, and it turns into something really ugly sometimes. So we're very touchy, like, okay, who can drive by? Let's not call the cops so that we don't get him in trouble in case he fell asleep and it just isn't talking to us. You know, it's very touchy, very, very touchy. But yeah, there's always got to be support structure in place. Like I know in the HAVE organization, we can probably call to all 50 states somewhere and say, hey, are you near? Can you go check on them and stuff? So it's about having that network in place.
It's really interesting, I think, as well, when you're someone who's sort of concerned about somebody else. I don't know whether this is like a male trait. I can only obviously speak from a male perspective, but men in general like to solve problems. Yeah. So like with my pal who's having a real tough time, like I want to solve his problems. Yeah. Like, do you want me to make a phone call? Do you want me to go somewhere? Do we need to? Does someone need a door taken off? Like you tell me what you need, and we will make it happen. But actually, he doesn't need anything like that. He needs two sets of ears, two ears and one mouth. He needs me to just listen.
Exactly what it is. It's
funny.
So
tough to do, isn't it? If you try,
it is because the masculine energy is all about taking action. Yeah. Right. And the feminine energy is all about holistic thinking. Right. That's why when we go to Peru, which we're going in May again, we do a retreat with veterans and with civilians who want to help veterans. We go with about 10 or 15 people. We go to Peru and we work with ayahuasca in San Pedro. I've been doing it for 16 years. And ayahuasca is the feminine, which is a holistic. And then the next morning we take San Pedro, we work with that, and that's the masculine grounding and the action taking. So you have all of your visions for your business and for your life and for your love at night with ayahuasca. And then in the morning you say hello to Pedro, and he gives you the boots on the ground to make it happen.
So what is San Pedro? Because I've heard a lot about. I was reading about ayahuasca last night, but I've got to do this.
Yeah. Well, it's San Pedro is the yin and the yang, so yin and yang. So you got ayahuasca and San Pedro, male, masculine, feminine, and San Pedro is a cactus.
Okay. Yeah. Is it still like a tea? Is it like a?
No, it's well, ayahuasca you drink like a half a shot glass. Yeah. And with San Pedro you drink a 18-ounce glass of slime. Right. It's the pulp from the cactus. So it's like.
And what does it give you, like hyper focus, or?
It's a psychedelic. Right. So when you work with plant medicine, you always have to work with the intention. So you have to be very clear of what it is and why you're doing this. Like, why are you doing this right now? Yeah. To have fun? We don't do it to have fun. Yeah, yeah. We do it to let go of blockages and clear up your consciousness so you can see your future, plan it, agree with the universe, and then completely let it go. Yeah. And just go about your business. And that's where the certainty comes in. I'm certain because I know the universe has my back, so I don't have to worry about how I'm going to get to where I want to go because I know it's going to happen. You know, I did it one time. The first time I did it like really seriously, like for big things, I was like, I told you about the Vetpreneur Tribe, the videos, the 100K, right? That was in Peru. I said, I want to start an online business, make 100K and buy a house. And I visioned it. I saw everything, and then I completely let it go. And then when I started doing the live videos and I made the 100K, it still didn't click, right? But then a house showed up. My wife's like, I want to buy this house. And I was like, wow, this is it. We want to buy the house. And my wife's like, we don't have the money. I said, if the house can, then I realized, I'm like, wait a second, 100K, online business, the house is here. I guess the money's coming. So I signed for the house without even having the money. And 2 days later, my podcast from John Lee Dumas went live. And two people called who listened, and I made $65K from these two clients, and I used that for down payment. Wow. that's
with ayahuasca. Did you because it's quite well documented what it does, and it's quite well documented that it is elevating and elating, and it is as close to euphoria as you're going to get. But also, it can put you in a hole for 8 hours. And did you have any fear knowing what you? Going into it the first time?
I had fear because what it is if you resist, it will go dark.
Yes. That's
you have to embrace it. Yeah. Like I remember the first time I took ayahuasca, I was dying. And I was starting to splinter and my body was melting. I was like, and then I just remembered wait a second.
And you can't get yourself out though,
No, of course not. You're screwed. You're in, man. You're in. There's no way to stop. Weird, right? Yeah. And then I said, wait a second. They said embrace it. So I literally embraced it, man. It was like a full body orgasm. It was like, just amazing. Felt amazing. But even the heaviest that I've ever done is Bufo, 5-MeO DMT. I did that in August in Mexico. It's called the God Particle. It's that one that Mike Tyson does and Tony Robbins does. That's the most powerful thing that I've ever taken in my life. I saw the universe, God. I was part of it. It was. I met every person in the universe. It was freaking crazy, man. I heard harmonicas playing the whole time. There was like an African singer doing dances around me and stuff. It was crazy. It was crazy. But the integration is what this is all about. All plant medicine. The journey is one thing, but the integration is where you actually learn and implement what you brought with you back from whatever realm you were at. And the Bufo integration lasted like 6 weeks. Every night, it'd be back up there again and seeing things. And then Ayahuasca San Pedro integration is about noticing the things in your life that are changing because of what you went through, and then what you set in motion with your intentions.
So if you like in that moment, your body's shattering, although you're sort of like on a different level, you've got the conscious awareness to go, right, come on, I need to remember the advice and go with it.
Yeah. Well, it's ayahuasca. A lot of people you see on video and stuff, they take ayahuasca and they lay down and go to sleep, and then they vomit and all this other kind of stuff, right? Well, that's not the way you do it. And you have a shaman that sings Icaraz that keeps you focused and sitting up, focused, like focus on your intentions. Why are you here? Like, don't just lay down and dream. Why are you here? It's work, right? And they keep you awake like that. And the only reason you vomit is because you didn't do the 2-week preparation. You know, people go on ayahuasca tourism. They eat a pizza the night before and go take ayahuasca. Of course they're gonna vomit. You know, 2 weeks before we have a very strict no drinking, no meat, no spices, no chemicals on your body, none of that stuff. So you have to buy like pH balanced soap and all kinds of stuff, and no perfume and no cologne and none of that stuff. And so when you go into the ayahuasca, you're already cleansed. And we don't for those 10 days. I lose 10 kilos every time I go to Peru in 10 days, because we eat a bowl of fruit a day maybe and some quinoa soup or something. Because you're just so in that spirit place. And we're in Cusco at the Temple of the Moon, literally 50 meters from the Temple of the Moon. We have a big compound there. Temple of the Frog, Temple of San Pedro, Temple of the Monkey. And it's incredible, man. It's incredible. It's the most incredible thing that I do every year.
People have always said...
When does that start? I need to go.
6th of May. This year, 6th of May.
People say it to me, and it's like, I missed the beginning bit, but it scares the life out of me.
If we had a conversation with somebody a couple of weeks ago about microdosing, and which was listen, I live a sheltered life. Let me probably just describe it as that opened my eyes having that conversation, and I was like fascinated by what he was telling me and what we was listening to. And
you'd be surprised how many board members of big companies use microdosing for their creative sessions.
No, it's he's and the thing is the person who's done it, he's quite respected in his field, and he actually just tells everyone about it. Like, he does do lally stuff, but it's like you see some videos. But what he's saying is, it's like the
clarity of thought. Yeah,
clarity of thought is just crazy. Well, yeah, it's but I'd love to do it, but I think that.
Well, you'll be called when the time comes. You'll be like, I got to do this.
No, I've been invited.
No, you'll be called. I mean, someone's going to call you. Like, hey, Ashley, come. I mean, you will be called.
He got the call last night, Stephen.
No.
He's not doing ayahuasca. Give him a bottle of water. He's fine. Leave him be.
No, someone was like, I'm going to go do this. Do you want to come?
No, somebody, Charlotte, if you're listening, take away his passport. Gary, I can see his dad's in the audience. Take away his passport.
And they started explaining it to me, and it brought back.
Well, once it's time for you, you'll know. Put it that way. Yeah, once you know.
Scares a lot.
And some of us hope that you never know.
It's profound. It's profound. First time I ever did it, it changed my life forever. I was like,
did it really? Yeah, I've heard this so many times. Yeah.
Man, I could tell you stories, man, about what I've manifested.
Do you remember everything after?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you're fully like awake for the 8 hours of
the... You can talk to somebody if you want. You can talk, just don't do it.
Yeah. You could. Like, just because you could doesn't mean you should.
I want to interrupt your soul death and your ego death. I want to talk to you because I'm egotistical. You know, you don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Like, hey, look at mine.
Well, if you had a conversation, would it make sense to anyone?
Yes, it would. Because it happens still sometimes. You know, if you're there with there's women around and they want to talk, they need some like masculine because they feel too far gone in the feminine or something. They need the masculine, or it's the other way around. When you're on Pedro, though. It's during the day. It's in the sun. You can talk to each other. You get creative. I mean, that's where HAV came from, the name HAV, Humble Alpha Veteran Empowerment, the name of the book, Humble Alpha, the name of the company, the name of QOL Enterprises, Quality Life. It all came through Pedro. Because my intention was, how do I bring together the Humble Alpha book and the veteran space? And I was sitting there and I heard this, grab a pen. You know, grab the pen. And it was like, have. And I wrote have down. I'm like, how does that have what? Have it all? What does it have mean? And then it literally crystallized in front of me. Humble, alpha, veteran, empowerment. I was like, oh, shit. Yeah. Cool, that's done. And then I go to the next one. I go to the next intention. It's like this. And the cool thing about all of this is that you have no boundaries. So everyone that's there with you, you're like hugging and hanging out and chilling and having a great time. You just feel that energy. Incredible, man. It's freaking incredible. It really is. Co-creation. Like
when is this?
James is booking airline tickets. He's on there.
6th of May.
He's on there. He's booking.
I'm telling my wife now, those 6th of May plans, cancel them because I'm going on a trip and I'm not sure I'm coming back. I'm going on a trip on every level. Right, let's go to Amanda next. We'll try and get through as many questions as we can. We've only got 10 minutes left, but we'll go for it. Amanda, coming to you.
Hi. Thank you, Stephen, for this morning. It's been incredible listening to your journey. My son went into the army for 4 years in the REME, and he came out and he set up his own business, and he's just firing on all cylinders. I think it really set him up for his future, having that time in the army. But my question is around the NFTs and how, for the veterans, are you able to get by digital inclusion and them understanding Web3 and the NFT space?
Those who are open for it, yes. There's a lot of veterans that are open for it and they want to learn. A lot of them are still resistant, and that's where the education comes in, because there's only 6% of society that has anything to do with cryptos or NFT, and that's a massive red ocean, meaning the sharks are biting each other right now. And the blue ocean is those people who don't know it, but you need to educate them and they need to have the will to learn. And so that's the hard part about what we're doing, is we're taking an existing community that has nothing to do with crypto and we're introducing them to crypto, trying to explain it to them in a way that we explained it to them, right?
Yeah.
And then you're taking the crypto world and saying, hey, we're not just an NFT that's going to blow up overnight and do this. This is a sustainable project that we're going to do over time, release 4 different drops over the next year so we could finance the project, get everything on the blockchain, and help the veterans with the most impact possible.
That was a slick answer.
There we go.
Like,
You're welcome.
I was just about to say,
You're welcome.
Is there any more cleaner answer than that? Is that memorised or is it just there now?
Dude, again, I feel the space I'm given. Whatever questions you ask, I can answer. It doesn't matter what it is. I honestly, God, so I started a political organization in Germany 15 years ago with 2 friends. It was a pressure group. And it's now, 5 years ago, turned into a party, and that party is now the 3rd largest party in Germany.
Oh, wow.
And they, like, I will consult or advise, like, well-known politicians, including some Brits, right? Because I'm at dinner or whatever. And they're like, well, what do you think about Obama's debt ceiling? And what do you think about Trump, this, that, and the other? And because they know in their mind that I know, but I don't know that I know, I feel that space, just like the goldfish. Right, so I'll feel that space and I'll just answer because I have nothing to win or nothing to lose. I got nothing to gain. So I just answer, what does the divine infinite, the infinite knowledge, the infinite wisdom give me? I just say what comes out. And it's almost always exactly what happens. And they're like, what the hell? How do you know this stuff? I'm like, I don't know. I don't really know. I just tap into it. Yeah, it's crazy.
Could you get dinner with Boris Johnson and sort our country out then? Because if an infinite wisdom is needed by any buffoon, it's genuinely
Could
that
you
guy.
Well-
could you imagine Boris on psychedelics? Jesus.
Someone
Christ.
should.
I think he's on them all the time.
Yeah.
And not the controlled ones.
No, I think you have to be willing to receive.
Yeah.
And,
Fair point.
And we don't need to get into that story, but I mean, there's a whole nother story behind what's going on up there anyway. So, and because of the political organization in Germany, I'm privy to a lot of information that it just makes you like almost laugh.
Yeah.
How bad it is. Yeah. So
Right, we've got a few more people who are messaging in the back channel who are dying to get up on stage to ask a question. So Sharon, we're going to come to you next, my dear, and then we will see how much time we've got left. It depends how much space we need to fill.
there you go.
There you go. See, I'm learning.
Yeah, love it.
Learning. All I need now is a bit of San Pedro for me breakfast coffee, and I'm away to go.
You can microdose.
I'm going Peru, man. Go on, Sharon. Well, you do that. I'm going to book it and Thomas cook it. You go.
Well, first of all, guys, I just want to say thank you for an amazing room, Stephen. It's been amazing listening to you. And I do remember the room. I wasn't actually in it, but I know from Trey, who's a friend, and also from Beju as well. So it's so wonderful to hear of your progress. And having been somebody who's also been through a divorce, I remember at the time having, similar thoughts, and it's a place of despair that none of us want to be in. So I appreciate you've done the work, and well done you. So there's just that, but that wasn't what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about was I have a 15-year-old son. Who I'm very, very proud of, and he's in the Air Cadets, and he is adamant. Now he may change, but he's adamant that he'd like to join the RAF. Now, as a mum, that fills me with two feelings. One is pride, and the other is fear. And as a father, but also somebody who's been, in the military, and listening to the impact of that on you emotionally as well. How as a parent do you support a child in their dreams that at the same time fill you with fear? Thank you.
So I work with a coach. His name is Dale Vincent Hancock. You guys know him?
Yes, I know Dale very well.
And he told me something last night. We were talking about this, and he said that you basically, what I said before about giving them a choice, right? Do you accept the possible repercussions of what might happen if you do this? Are you prepared to take full responsibility and ownership of what might happen if you take this step? And that's not telling them not to do it, but it's telling them to wait, take a second. What are you actually getting into? What could happen? And then maybe they go and talk to someone like me or another, a squatty or a British veteran, and talk to them about what it is. And I can tell you this, a veteran will never say, don't join, it's horrible. They're going to say, well, how do you feel? Why do you want to join? What's your mission behind it and stuff like that? And are you prepared to give your life for this? And so that's the way, that's how I talk to my kids. They're not ready to join the military, but actually my son's like, I'm never joining the military after seeing what you did, so. And so, yeah, that's sort of how we do. We were talking about that last night with Dale. Great guy.
Sharon, I was that kid, actually. I was in the Air Cadets for 4 years. Done an RAF flying scholarship, was selected to fly fast jets, went through RAF Cranwell, was off like pre-officer selection.
You got Tom Cruise in front of us here, guys.
And I went through...
He's even got the glasses. Sometimes he's lost a lot of weight recently and turned up.
Went through all of that, and it was like between 13 and 17, it was my mission was I was going to fly planes for the RAF. That was the only outcome I could see my life having. And then I met my wife, or my then girlfriend, and I discovered a world away from...
Right.
Because at the time I went from having not the best upbringing or family environment to going into a cadet organisation that was really good, and therefore I had a huge family. Yep. There was 250 of us, and it was a huge family, and so I just embedded myself, and that was everything in life was that basically, and so it gave me a purpose, and it gave me an identity. It gave me an identity. It gave me all of that stuff. But then I discovered that in between being selected for the RAF, which I needed to go to college and I needed to go to university for. Right. So I enrolled in college, got into college, and was very much on that path. And then I met my now wife, and she then showed me a life away from the cadet organisation. So then I pivoted in that direction. I never joined the RAF, but the lessons that I learned in that period of time, the leadership skills, used to may argue otherwise, but the discipline and what was learnt in those 4 years, even though it was a cadet organisation, because I fully embraced it, has definitely changed the outcome of my life for sure.
Structure does that to you.
Yeah.
4 years is a long time.
So the lesson here is get my son into women as soon as possible.
Well, there you go. Yeah, there you go.
You nailed it.
There might have been some other substances involved as well at the time, Sharon, so I can't recommend that either.
I'll just go where Stephen was and just it looks like heaven gates opened.
Oh my god!
But it all works out.
This is classic, man.
That's got to be so tough though for a parent. And also, how do you look at the military now? Because obviously it's somewhere that pushed you to, almost like a breaking point, but also made you the person that you are now.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone.
But you wouldn't dissuade anyone either.
No, I wouldn't. But I wouldn't say, hey, should I join? Like, look, man, it's up to you. Look at the consequences, what can happen. Talk to some people and stuff like that. But me personally, if someone says, Steve, tell me your honest to God truth, I'd be like, no, don't don't go to the military. There's so many other things you can do in this world. Look, my whole life, I have this little word buzzing. Like, for instance, Ukraine broke out. I live about 700 kilometers from the border of Ukraine, right? It's like raining soot sometimes from the smoke and stuff. All the refugees are there and stuff. And I had this like low vibration of negativity when it first started. I'm like, what the hell is that? Why do I feel bad? And it was my PTSD kicking in. And then when I went to therapy and I talked to one of my coaches, I'm like, what do you feel like doing? And I was like, I actually had a live session in Breakfast with Champions about this. And I said, I couldn't help the kids in Iraq. You know, there's things I could have done that I didn't do because I didn't think I could because I was a soldier and I had rules to follow. But I don't have those rules anymore. So I want to go to Ukraine and help the kids, and sort of in a proxy manner help the kids in Iraq that I couldn't help through helping the Ukrainian kids. And so there's a lot of, you know, stuff that you carry with you for the rest of your life. But again, that's a good thing. I can help or whatever it is, but it comes from trauma because I couldn't help. So there's always that
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a tough one. And because I'm conscious, I can work that out and figure out what it is. And because I have so many literally, I don't even know how many coaches I have. It's ridiculous. Yeah, but like I said, I always ask for help.
Yeah, no, it's I take it like different things trigger different things. Yeah. As you go along, you didn't realise that certain things could trigger.
Yeah, exactly. And then you give them a name and articulate, and that's what our book's about. You know, on Unleash Your Humble Alpha, I articulated my operating system. It took us a year to write the book. It was all interviews, and I had to figure out when was the first time I created space. When was the first time HIT? Like HIT, for instance, right? Honesty, integrity, and transparency. Honesty with yourself while you do, say, and think like you do. Transparency is how you step into the world with that honesty. It's your ongoing reputation. The byproduct is integrity. Integrity is doing what you say you're going to do, not doing what you say you're not going to do. And of course, if you screw up, apologize and make it better, right? HIT, the first time I did HIT, I was on a TV show in Germany the day the war started in 2003. Johannes Buchanan and Mildred Magner, or whatever her name is, 20 million people watching live. They asked me a question. They're like, Mr. Kuhn, are you against this war? And I was like, oh, shit. If I say yes, then every American's going to hate me. If I say no, then the Germans are going to think I'm crazy. And then I said, wait a second. I got to be true to myself, who I am. So I answered honestly and truthfully, and that was the first time that I, came up with HIT. So I wrote that in the book, and that's how I came up with. That's how when you articulate your operating system, you have a foundation of which you can begin. And that book is so powerful that Forbes School of Business and Technology has it in their curriculum now as a course. And Harvard and Stanford are now signing to pick it up.
I was sitting on my side at home. I had one of Charlotte's cousins come round, sending me the picture. She's just started reading it, and she's like, "I've just stole this from your house." Don't have a
so good it's caused theft.
I got a picture saying like, "I've just stolen this," and she must. Yes, she's not giving it back since.
Yeah,
so it's like
we've pinned the link to the top of the room, by the way, because it's been mentioned a few times. But guys, it'd be great if you've enjoyed this conversation, if you've had value from this conversation, please go and click the link at the top. And that'll go to Amazon in the UK. So you might, if you're listening in other parts of the world, you might have to go to your local online bookstore or maybe even a bookstore. But yeah, click onto that link, Unleashing Your Humble Alpha. The link is pinned at the top of the room right now.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
What a morning. What a morning indeed. We've covered off the military, mental health. We were going to talk
Psychedelics.
about NFTs, psychedelics. I've booked a flight to go to Peru. Me and Stephen have become best friends. He doesn't know that yet, but it's going to come out during one of our trips together.
I can't wait to go get high.
Yeah. That's why you're not going. That's why you don't go.
I've just realised I'm 4 coffees in though, so I'm a little bit.
This is what I said.
I'm already buzzing.
I didn't actually offer you a coffee because I thought they can't have another black coffee, and because he wanted one, and then you passed me the cup. I'm like, oh, sure, I'm going to be able to.
He's all in.
But that's until 2 p.m. That's my diet: black coffee, black coffee and water.
When you passed me the cup, I was like, look, to you, not the fact that I didn't want to make it, like.
Are you sure?
Sure?
Do you need another one? You get to the end of the night, you tell your pal, like, I don't think you need another one. Mate. Give me another one. Stephen, where can we go and support everything that you're up to? I know we've pinned the link for the book at the top, but can we go and support the NFT, support your projects? Where can we go to support you and your mission and your vision?
Right now, you can go to havenft.io. You can grab yourself an NFT. This is the deal. If you grab at least 5 NFTs, you'll have a chance of getting a male and a female bulldog. And if you buy 5, we'll give you a doghouse NFT, and you can burn that doghouse to mint a puppy. And those puppies you cannot buy. Anyone who buys right now, up to 500 people, we're at 280, I think, right now, receives the first ever Medal of Honor recipient NFT, digital NFT from Florent Groberg. That you get for free. You can't buy that either. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and there's a code you can use, HAVE22, have in capitals 22. That's the free NFT right there, the video. From the Medal of Honor NFT video.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. First one ever in history, which, of course, of NFTs is about 3 months.
Sounds good, though.
Yeah. And the history of the world. And so havenft.io. You can go to Audible, check out our book, or Amazon, check out the book. Go to humblealpha.com/advisory and look at our advisory program. We offer group and one-on-ones. And we actually make a big difference. Like I said, one of our clients is the mayor of New York City's special assistant. We have entrepreneurs up in the 30 to 50 million range. We have entrepreneurs down to the, the 6-figure range and things like that. We help them scale, grow, and explode the personal ability to achieve more with less work.
Amazing stuff. What a fantastic morning. Guys, if you're on the stage, do us a favour. Give him a round of applause. Give him a mic flash as a sign of appreciation. A fantastic morning, I think you'd agree. I think it's probably been one of the best rooms we've ever done, I'd say.
Oh, thank you. Wow.
Last time, Stephen came in for an interview early on, and I remember the reception. The reception was crazy.
The receptionist?
No,
the receptionist.
On that bombshell, I think we'll leave it there, shall we? We'll be back tomorrow, 6:30 a.m. Go and support Stephen. Go and give him a follow. Go and check out Have NFT. Go and check out the book. Go and check out everything that he's doing to make a massive impact in the world. Guys, have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday. We've been the Winners Club. You've been fabulous. Cheers for being here. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Ciao for now.
Ta-da.
You are listening to Breakfast with Winners. Exclusive content direct from the Winners Club. If you are enjoying the conversation, click on the green Monopoly house at the top of the screen right now and join the thousands of winners already in our community. For even more actionable content and powerful lessons, download the free companion app now. Just search for the Winners Club in the App Store or Google Play. For more information about the Winners Club and how to become part of our growing community, head to thewinnersclub.club. Now, back to the show.